بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. We're on page 2. We left off at the section on purpose, and we began to unpack this idea that the purpose of this course is to improve our understanding of the Quran by better understanding how the Prophet, the companions, and their students, meaning the Tabi'een, understood the Quran. Right? And we began to have a discussion around this. And the question that was being posed was, okay, what does it mean to understand the Quran in light of how the companions understood it, right? And to add to that, you have this tension in our times today between those who say they're trying to apply the religion based on how the companions did it, right? And those who are saying that was then, things are very different now, and now we need to be more comfortable approaching the Quran without this, training wheel of the companions, right? So in other words, let's put aside what the companions and the early Muslims did and said, and let's look at the Quran to better figure out how to deal with our lives today. You see the difference? One says, I have to know what the companions did, and that's what I'm going to do regardless. The others say, we don't need the companions right now. With all due respect, we need to deal with the reality as it is. Our times are completely different than times with the companions. All right. So where are you in this regard? Let's put it that way. Are you on this side or this side? Okay, if you're on this side, like, it has to be the way the companions did it, no matter what. Time is irrelevant, place is irrelevant, right? If you feel that this resonates with you, raise your hand.
Jeff, would you contextualize it just a little bit more? Like when you say like what the companions did, like do you mean just like the way they dressed to the way they acted, or just you mean like
I'm talking to the way they dressed, the way they acted, like anything and everything, the whole package. Okay. Who's with the kind of companion side here? Not the companion side, but this understanding. No one? No, like in terms of this position right here, that we replicate what the companions did in terms of like a full package.
between one extreme or the other.
I'm saying, which resonates with you more? Are you more here or more here? More here? All right. Who's more here? No, like companions did their thing. They had their context. They had their time. We need to take off that training wheel of doing everything the way the companions did it, and we need to do it based on modern times. Who's more here? No one? That's not a lot. Okay. So let's have this conversation, right? So since most of you are kind of on this side, I'm gonna play this side, right? The people. So imagine I'm a professor of academia who has adopted this modern approach to understanding the Quran that essentially sheds in their mind the old understanding of the Quran, the old approach, right? So I'm posing to you all a question. These individuals that have adopted your way, how have they been able to navigate or deal with any of the challenges of today? What role have they played in terms of pushing back against Orientalism, against liberalism, against extremism? In fact, most of the time, the extremism comes from your camp. Talk about ISIS and Al-Qaeda and these guys. Respond. Salma, right? Okay. So Mhm.
How could you? The dean is not, it's not enough. You need to take it all. Or exclude it. You don't feel like.
Oh, no, I'm not excluding anything. Right? It's not about like what makes me feel better. It's about the fact that the Quran is meant to empower us in this life, and your methodology, I think your, figuratively,
Yeah.
your methodology is not doing that. Nothing is coming from your camp. No solutions are coming from your camp. In fact, some of the problems are coming from your camp.
I think the camp that you're referring to here is not the camp of the that follows the companions. I think it's the camp that blindly follows their forefathers. So I think like all the weird extreme aspect of it, it doesn't come from the companions camp, because the companions understood what they were reading and what was being revealed. But the crazy camp, I'm coming from the subcontinent, so all this like the extreme religion, it's not the religion of the companions, it's the religion of their forefathers. So people grow up, they just learn craziness from their forefathers, their parents, grandparents, and then they just follow it without any understanding. I don't think it's companions.
Maybe that's true, but when I talk to these individuals and I ask them, why are you dressed like that?
Yeah.
Right? They say, I'm being like a companion. Why is your beard so ungroomed? So, I'm sorry, mine is too. But why is your beard so ungroomed? Like, why can't you just at least make it look better? And the companion said, not forefathers.
Chef, do you mind if I go?
Go for it.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I would say personally, and also I apologize for the loud noise, I'm at work right now. But I would say personally, I do try to follow Salafism in a sense. But I think that when it comes to dressing, I don't know of any actual scholars like Ibn Baz or scholars like that would say that it's like similar or anything like that to dress like that.
Okay, I'm talking to people who do.
So what group would that be then?
I mean, even if you could take someone like Ibn Baz and Ibn Uthaymeen, right?
Mhm.
A lot of it. Again, we're just having a conversation here. I'm big fans. I'm a big fan of both. I learned hundreds of hours from Ibn Uthaymeen. But let's just have a conversation here, right? Do you think that, look at the product of Ibn Baz and Ibn Uthaymeen, right? The generation that has come after them in Saudi Arabia. Do you think they have the keys of solving the problems of the Ummah today?
Well, I mean, aren't like the companions of the best generation? Shouldn't we take them as examples? Almost like
That's not my question.
okay. Honestly, I don't know. Then I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
I think a lot of the issues today are like stem from inequalities, maybe economically, there's a lot of political issues. So a lot of these issues in today's society have already been addressed or were addressed in the time of the companions. And they were very progressive in many ways that they took on new technologies, adapted to new events as they occurred. And so they weren't very like, you know, today, maybe people look back and they're kind of like reductionists, but in fact, the Sahaba were very, very forward thinking in many different ways. And so people that followed them truly would adopt the best of society and then just turn away from the worst of it.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. And I'm telling the group, you're not doing that. What they do is, it's like, this is how it was in the past. We have to be like that in the past.
Yeah, there's no going, why go back?
Right?
I think we take the mindset of the Sahaba, like you mentioned. They were progressive in that they took what was good of whatever new was coming, but they stuck to their morals and principles. Whereas I think we went on two extremes here. With the liberal Muslims accepted all the homos and
The alphabet.
the alphabet community, and they just kind of let everybody in. And then the extreme people, are just like blindly following the Sahaba, but without any knowledge of their mindset. They're just
Mhm.
doing what they did, I guess.
Okay,
I think colonialism and a major inferiority complex for the entire Muslims as a whole, compared to the Europeans and stuff, really set us back. And I think the new generations are starting to realize, wait a second, we have the word of God, and they just started using bidets. We're better than them, and we have everything more better than them. So we should just follow our own ways without trying to follow them.
okay, so I presented this conversation to you all in kind of two types of extremes, as Tayyip was saying, right? And Salma rightfully said that it needs to be a balance, right? It's very good when you want to learn something. It helps a lot to know the two extremes, right? It helps a lot. So number one, you don't fall into the extreme, and number two, you begin to find the middle path, right? So always remember that. And then the second point is the following. As Grant was saying, the companions were able to fix the problems of their times, right? And everything is always relative when it comes to ideology. The companions were seen as, they would have been seen as progressive in comparison to the society that they grew up in, right? So don't be caught up in labels. When you see a Muslim tossing out labels on everyone, oh, you're liberal, you're this, or you're that, right? Not only is that not allowed, it's haram, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَنَابَزُوا بِالْأَلْقَابِ. Don't put each other down with these names, these titles. But again, it's always relative. If somebody is coming from like that mindset of, I need to replicate everything the companions did, then they'll view anyone who's trying to introduce new systems of Islamic, economics as, oh, you're being progressive and you're a liberal and all this stuff, right? Be careful of the labels. Now, I want you all to allow the following to really set into your heart. If you, as an educated Muslim, right, are unable to provide solutions to the problems of the time, then you have not fully embraced the Quran, right? You have not fully embraced the Prophet. You have not fully embraced the companions. And while you obviously can't solve everything, and you have a certain expertise that maybe you can contribute to, we have to develop this mindset of, if I cannot leave this world better off than when I came to it, at least in the area where I'm an expert in, then I failed. I didn't truly apply the Quran, right? So as we were talking about last week, the thing that we want to get out of our education when it comes to Islam, especially the Quran, is, have I equipped myself with the ability to engage society in a way that is productive and constructive, right? How that looks, now the conversation becomes a little bit more back and forth, right? Companion side versus the, modern side. Where do we fit in this regard, right? And the answer is, there are some things that we will never change, period, right? Obviously, Tawheed, Salah, the times of Salah, obviously fasting, the pillars of Islam, the pillars of Iman, these are no changing. Interest is haram, right? Extramarital relationships, premarital relationships, haram. Homosexuality, haram. All this stuff is haram. These are set in stone. They're not changing, right? So yeah, we're going to stick with the companions here, even though you might think it's outdated. But to allow ourselves the ability to have a conversation with those who promote it, we can't just say, قال الله قال الرسول. Even if the one we're talking to is a Muslim, even if the one we're talking to is a child of ours, right? So while we are going to hang very tight onto what the companions did and said, right? The way we present this to broader society or to our own families needs to be more more relevant to the mindset of the one you're speaking to. Okay. And this is the way of the Prophet and the companions. So we're not, shifting here. We're not coming away from them. No, this is their way. And a primary example of that is a young man went to the Prophet والسلام, and said, Ya Rasulullah, allow me to date a girl. I want to be in a relationship with a girl outside of marriage. So the Prophet, if your child came to you and said this, or your brother or a fellow Muslim came to you and said this, what would be your response? What would be your response? Haram, right? You start quoting Quran, Sunnah, right? We're understanding Islam based on the understanding of Quran, Salaf al-Ummah and all this stuff. That's how we would respond to it, right? Well, how did the Prophet ﷺ respond to that? He didn't say Allah said so. He didn't say I said so. He didn't quote Quran. He didn't quote Hadith. And this young man said it in front of a group of people. And they're all like, oh my, how dare you? And so disrespectful to the Prophet. The Prophet said, relax, relax. He brought the young man closer to him. Come here. And then the Prophet said the following: would you be okay if someone did that to your mother? He said, no. He said, okay, would you be okay if someone did that to your daughter? No. To your sister? No. To your cousin? No. To your aunt? And then he just kept going on. Until the young man said, Wallahi, I went there wanting to do the haram and I left despising the haram. Right? And the Prophet didn't say Allah or Rasuluh once. What did the Prophet do? What is the Prophet doing here? Why did this young man become so convinced? If you were to go to your buddy or your child and tell them, would you be okay if your sister did this? Or if your mother did this? Or if your cousin did this? I don't care. It doesn't resonate, right? Why was this so impactful on this young man?
Something that they already kind of believe in their culture.
That
It's a prevalent belief at that time that they would frown upon someone doing that if it was done to their own female family members.
Mhm.
And then so when thinking about it in that way, then he was able to introspect and say, then I should also see that by me doing that to someone else, I would also be doing that same wrong thing.
Okay, so
But he had to believe in it in general.
why did they believe that? And we don't today. Not like we literally, but people today don't. I could care less if my sister did this.
The society we live in,
More specific. Why was it like, yeah, I wouldn't want that for this young man? What was it about their society? What part of their
I
society?
still have
Yeah,
maybe the fitra.
the fifth one is a little bit better, I'm sure. It's tribalism. This mindset of her doing that harms my reputation as well. Harms the whole tribe's reputation. Right or wrong, that's beyond the point. Right? We're just trying to understand why these few words the Prophet ﷺ said that was completely void of Allah and His Messenger, naming Allah and His Messenger, was so impactful. The young man went wanting to do the haram and left despising it in just a few minutes. It's amazing. And the answer is the Prophet understood the culture. He understood what resonates with people, and he used that to get them to what Allah and His Messenger wants. This is the way of the companions. That those who kind of come with these slogans of Allah wa Rasul, Qala Allah wa Qala Rasul, Allah said and the Messenger said, they completely miss. They think Qala Allah Qala Rasul simply means quoting here and there, and it's meant to have these magical powers on the individual that's going to transform them. And if they don't listen, then how dare them? They have betrayed Allah and His Messenger. Right? That wasn't the approach of the Prophet. It wasn't the approach of the companions. So when you look at that model, the Prophet understood that tribalism was still rooted in their minds. It still hasn't fully been removed, right? In our times today, is there something that we could use that really resonates with people that can help them stay away from the same haram? What do you all think? Right?
Like not to look at women as objects of men. And so when women,
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's on the other side because it's a man's perspective, but. Yeah, it would only work from the woman's perspective, I guess. Like if the woman were asking, you know, why, if I could do such and such, you could, you know, today it's within the culture to empower women to not be the objects of men, at least in some segments of the culture.
Yeah. Okay.
you like, your sister to be objectified by men.
We're not talking about objectification. We're talking about just relationships outside of marriage. He's such a nice guy. We'll get married in the future. Everybody does. How am I supposed to know he's a good husband if I don't date him for like 7 years? You see? We have no answer, right? What does that mean? We don't know the culture. And if we don't know the culture, how are we going to utilize the Quran and Sunnah to influence the culture?
Sheikh, I'm curious, what's like your perspective?
Maybe we go at the angle of children. Are you okay with a child being in this world without a stable family? Because children and the health of children is very much a sensitive topic in people's minds today. It's not about you and him. It's about what might come. Now they're going to come and say, yeah, but they're this and that, and there's preventative measures, and it doesn't always work, right? So maybe that. The idea here is what? The companions understood their realities, and that allowed them to be progressive. I'm not using it in kind of the cultural sense of the word or the political sense of the word, or rather just the linguistic meaning. They were able to deal with the challenges because they understood them, and they understood how the Quran can come in conversation with that. Right? So that's really the main goal. So when we think understanding the Quran in light of the Prophet, the companions, and the Tabi'een, there's a type of baseline that we want to establish for ourselves. What are the clear red lines that we're never going to cross, we're never going to compromise on, right? Because societies will always try and agitate here, try and poke a hole here. No, this is the chain. No one's going anywhere. We're in here. We could duke it out in here, but we're not going to go out there, right? But then also to understand that the Prophet ﷺ, part of his methodology wasn't always to invoke Quran and Hadith in order to resolve problems. He uses the principles of Quran and Hadith. He understands where Quran and Hadith wants humanity to reach, and he tries to get them there one way or another. And so this is very important in something like marriage. Never quote Quran and Sunnah against your spouse or against your children. Against them. For them, yes. To educate them, yes, but against them. Oh, you did this, and Allah says, or the Prophet says, whoever does this is going to hellfire. That's it. You're going to destroy the relationship, if not the Islam in that person's mind, right? Okay. So we
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Sorry, so are you? I just want to make sure I'm getting this right. So are you saying that we should stick to the Quran and we should stick to Sunnah in the Salaf, but the way we represent it and present it to people should be in the times of the people?
Yeah, in general, yes.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So we kind of spoke about this side of I'm sticking with the companions, cut and paste. Now let's go to the other extreme, right? What is wrong with a modern understanding of the Quran? Is there anything wrong with it? This approach that, all right, we respect you, people of the past, but And we're gonna do things our way today, because things are so different. What's your name? Mariam? Amira.
Um, uh, it's kind of just like, okay, like that's nice, those are nice stories to have. Maybe you read it and you feel good, or just seems so irrelevant, it's nothing that you extract from, and so you kind of,
Mhm.
you're made for more fix more so whatever you take in from what's around you, and so the items seem so irrelevant, you know.
Okay, so we're back to the question of relevance, right? So here, we question this approach by saying, you're becoming irrelevant because you're unable, your methodology is unable to resolve, be in conversation with the problems of today, let alone resolve it. And then Amira is saying that kind of the modern approach finds the stories and the people of the past to be irrelevant to our times today, right? But what's wrong with that? Like, what's wrong with that proposition? So,
I disagree with the approach because human beings are human beings. We take away some of the outside things and maybe some of the little nuances, but at the end of the day, the problem is still the same. And if that's what they're saying, then I would say that, maybe they haven't maybe looked into the stories, maybe they haven't really studied them.
mhm.
Really, or you go down to the heart of their problems, we still have the exact same problems. We still face the exact same things. Just maybe our dress code looked different, maybe some of our languages or our cultures were different, but when you look at it, human beings don't change.
You all agree? So when I was in Jordan, one of my mentors said the following. So obviously, there's in any society, there are different classes of economic well-being. And so one of my mentors said the following. He said, if you go to the poorest areas of Jordan and you go to the richest areas of Jordan, they're all the same people. The only thing that differs is their attire, how they dress. They think the same exact way, and they behave the same exact way, right? When you think of ancient Rome, the culture then, what comes to your mind? No, what are the things that they used to do big in their culture?
Colosseums.
What happened in Colosseum?
Sports, fighting,
right? What else?
Entertainment, a lot of leisure.
entertainment.
All right. Any society has entertainment. What kind of entertainment? We said sports.
What are you defining?
So sports, whether from fighting to whatever balls they used to use, or what else? Imagine walking the streets of Rome. What do you think you would see around you?
Architecture.
Mass.
It's massive. What kind of architecture? What kind of imagery do you see?
Aqueducts.
What is it, Mariam?
It's an aqueducts.
She's an opulence.
Opulence?
Oh, like
Aqueducts.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Aqueducts.
Aqueducts? Okay. I'm talking about culture, not engineering and stuff like that. What kind of imagery would you see around you?
Like a basic city.
More specific.
Are you talking about the leader?
So if you walk in the streets of Rome or the streets of Greece back in the ancient times, what I would imagine are statues of naked people.
Yeah.
Right? So what do you find in Western culture today?
billboards and naked people.
Sports that tend to be violent and revealing the human body. It's the same exact culture. The only thing that's different is the technologies and the clothing. Or else the essence is the same. This is people keep going back, right? They have this habit of going into a cycle. In Egypt today, you have a portion of society that is now kind of like bringing back the Pharaoh's time. Now, of course, there's a sinister plan there, but the idea is people are the same. The only thing that changes really are the technologies and the clothes that we wear. Or else the essence is always the same because our desires are always the same. Right? Our wanting to be superior to others is always the same. And every single person. Our love of the dunya, the world, is the same. It's not going to change based on time or place, right? So the fundamental challenges of being a human being and building human societies are always the same, right? They look different, but the root is the same. And what does the Quran come and address? The specifics or the foundationals? Foundations, right? And so it's always relevance. And if a person cannot find or see the relevance of the Quran and the stories and the companions, because they don't understand or they have rejected, or they haven't understood this reality of the human being, right? The Quran didn't come to bring new technologies. The Quran came to develop the human being. And so long as a human being is wired through biology and physiology and anatomy, it's always going to be the same. And that's what the Quran came and addressed, right? And so when you read the story of Sulaiman alayhi salam in the Quran, or the story of the believer of Surah Yasin, or something like that, if you look at it from the lens of, yeah, Allah wants me to replicate what Sulaiman did, then there's a disconnect there, right? But if you look at it in terms of how did Sulaiman alayhi salam deal with the challenge of supremacy? This is a strong man, and now he's put in conflict with another strong civilization led by a woman, right? Whose top leader was a queen, not a king. How did he deal with that? Because so many people, as the queen said, the kings, they come in, what do? They flip society upside down. That is the tendency. And Allah says, yeah, that tends to be the habit. But shows us the different. You see what I mean here? So if you understand the human being and the fact that the human being is repetitive, then you will be able to better muster or to extrapolate the lessons, because it's about you as a human being, society as human beings. It's not a book about capitalism versus socialism versus communism or Marxism or any of this stuff. Democracy versus autocracy versus monarchy or any of that stuff. Yeah, Sam can have things to say about it, but that's not the essence, right? So the problem with the modern approach is that their inability to appreciate the value of the classical understanding of the Quran and Sunnah, meaning as per the companions and the early generations of Muslims, is either a sheer neglect of human essentialism, they call it, essentialism, meaning you as a human being, you have certain essences that are always true. You are a certain way, right? Modern times, the Western world, they try and reject this 100%, because that means off the bat, homosexuality, transgenderism, all that stuff is wrong, because it goes away from the essence of the human being, right? So either they outright reject it or they're oblivious to it. Okay. And then finally, in this chapter, the objective is the main objective behind studying Islamic science. Any Islamic science is to attain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to be successful in this life and the next. Why is pleasing Allah important? Go ahead.
You can attain Jannah.
Okay, Jannah. All right. Does anyone have a different answer?
Allah is worthy of worship.
Allah is worthy of worship. Okay. We're put on earth to worship him. Okay.
When you live life trying to please other people, like you'll never reach.
Okay, all right, now we're getting to some human psychology here. The common answer, as we can expect, is gonna be what? We please Allah for Jannah, for Hasanat, because he's worthy of worship, right? 100% true, 100% enough. If that was the only reason, 100% enough. But again, what is our goal here? We want to be able to have a conversation with modern times. We want to be able to transfer what we learn to our families, to our children, in a way that empowers them, not in a way that's just a list of boxes that they have to check off in order to be a Muslim, right? So why is it important from the human level to please Allah?
Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us in a way that we will only find content in our hearts through pleasing him, and otherwise we'll always have a void looking to fill that hole.
Okay, so I think we can all appreciate what you're saying in our times today due to depression and loneliness and all this stuff. But if you were to go back, or not even go back, if you go to another country where these challenges aren't rampant, they'll come back and say, I'm pretty content where I'm at. In other words, is it really a condition to happiness and contentment and fulfillment in life to please Allah? Is it really a condition?
I would say only yes, because of the specific ayah in the Quran,
What's that?
that the hearts will not find peace unless they're in remembrance of Allah.
No, that the verse is, in the remembrance of Allah, hearts find rest. It's not, you will only find rest if you remember Allah. Has anyone heard the phrase "love yourself"?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's everywhere these days, right? There are books about it. Right? Why loving yourself is important. 15 ways to love yourself. Okay. My response to that is the following, and I want to see if you agree with me. The only time a person needs to love themselves is when nobody loves them and they have no one to love. I'll repeat that. The only time a person needs to love themselves is when they have no one to love and no one loves them. Do you agree with this? Think about it for a second. This isn't Quran and Sunnah, by the way. This is just me. Don't hesitate to disagree. What do you all think? Agree, disagree? Partially agree?
Let's say every lover needs an object.
Every lover needs an object. Is that from a song or something?
No, I've just heard the lecture before, yeah.
Okay.
Like by our nature, like we said, we just have this as part of our essence. And we require that object.
All right. What? Agree, disagree? Ladies? I'm getting some stares. People online? Agree, disagree? I got a thumbs up.
I think you kind of always need to love yourself below.
Mariam, there's a lot of background noise from your end, so I really can't understand you.
I said I think you always kind of need a little bit of self-love in general.
It's always going to be what?
I think you always need a little bit of self-love in general.
You always need a little bit of self-love in general.
In Jannah?
In general,
In
in
general.
general, you need self-love.
I think you're talking about self-esteem.
I think that's tied to love yourself for a lot of people that.
Self-esteem?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I would agree with that, right? But I don't think love is where self-esteem is rooted. Loving yourself.
Well, it's like a level of self-respect. in a way.
self-respect, self-love, self-esteem. The Quran comes and equips the human being with that, which is the idea of love, loving yourself.
It's like, it's so narcissistic to love yourself. And
I think it's desperate.
what?
I think it's desperate.
Desperate?
I think it's desperation when someone says it. Right. So let's do the following.
What is the definition of loving yourself?
He doesn't understand, right? It's so Western that anyone outside of the West will be like, this exactly. And that is I think the fifth one reaction right there. Love yourself? Like what does that mean? Right? But to us, it's like, yeah, I get it. But this is where I want to take it now. What does it mean to love yourself? Like, practically speaking, how do you love yourself? What do you do?
Talking about like from the proper.
So imagine right now that you want to follow this philosophy. I'm gonna love myself a little bit more.
From the Western perspective.
Yeah, from the Western, whatever, right? So think of yourself, I'm gonna, he says like today I'm gonna love myself.
You
Right.
deserve some chocolate today.
What is that? Like, how do you implement that? What do you do to love yourself?
You put yourself.
You put yourself before others, okay, Isa.
You indulge your desires.
Indulge your desires. Hidayah, go ahead. Okay, so the gratification, right? Satisfying the desires, as Isa was saying. So in general, we agree this is kind of the manifestation of loving yourself. Okay, now put the Quran in conversation with that. I think we could quickly respond, at least from the Quranic lens. Is that good? Absolutely not. That's not only not good, that's dangerous. Right? It's dangerous. Now, just to show you the extent of the danger, and I'm talking to you now as Muslim, right? What happens when Islam comes to this individual and says you should submit to Allah, who restricts some of your desires? What's the initial reaction going to be?
I like my freedom.
No, I'm okay where I'm at, right? But you as a Muslim, you know what, in terms of this whole idea of love, as a result of rejecting Islam, what do they miss out on? Allah's love. Right? So when you talk about pleasing Allah, why is that important to us as a human being? And the answer is, it results, the fruit of it is the love of Allah. Right? That is the fruit of it. By loving myself, based on how we kind of defined it, I am rejecting myself being loved. And I'm preventing myself from loving. This is the reality. And it's not just with Allah. Somebody who follows the love yourself, I mean, as Amina pointed out, put yourself first. Right? Put yourself first. Well, automatically that's going to shift who loves you and who you love. Even your parents, your spouse, your siblings, your children, whatever it is. And people who resort to love yourself, it's probably because they feel that their relationships have failed, regardless of who's at fault. It's like it's a last resort type thing, right? So we get the love of Allah. That's what we get when we please Allah. Now, trivia. How many times does Allah mention his love for the believers in the Quran?
The specific number. I saw a thing in setting these like this little statistic things. I think it's twice as much as his punishment.
I think that's Rahman you're referring to. It's mentioned, right? إن الله يحب التوابين ويحب المطهرين. Follow the Prophet.
One of the names of love as well, right?
It's Al-Wadud, right? So no doubt it's there. Okay, now how many times does Allah mention Rahmah directly or indirectly? In comparison to how many times he mentions love, which one is more? Rahmah. How about rizq? Provisions, Allah provides. More. What about like how he protects you, how he's your guardian, how he's more, right? So do we understand that love isn't as big of a deal as maybe I'm making it out to be?
Love in general is like a new thing. Old couples, like, people never talked about like, hey, I love you. It was always just like, hey, you know.
Don't get me started on the past 2 generations. Most of the problems, a lot of the problems that we're in today is because, like, I don't blame them directly, but because of their approach to life. I'm talking globally, right? Or else the Prophet ﷺ taught us that if you love someone for the sake of Allah, go and tell them, right? So my question is, why isn't Allah mentioning love more than he's mentioning these other things? Correct.
Love is more selective, while mercy and these other things just go out in general. Allah extends mercy, Allah provides to all things, but the love is something that's unique for people that fall into a certain category.
Okay. What's your name?
Ahmed.
Ahmed. So,
Allah says in the Quran, وَإِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ إِلَّا مَا رَحِمَ رَبِّي. So a nafs normally like commanding you to do the bad deeds, not to do good deeds. So how you love yourself when she's normally like commanding you to do the bad?
I'm still fixed on this whole idea of loving yourself. You're right.
Yeah.
The human being's biggest enemy is their self. Right. So loving your biggest enemy is a little bit strange. So back to the conversation here. And the answer is as follows. All these other things, Allah's mercy, his provisions, etc., is a manifestation of his love. It's a manifestation of that. Now, no doubt, Allah provides a portion of these things to all of humanity. He provides all of humanity. He has mercy on all of humanity. He is the guardian of all of humanity. But no doubt, the closer you are to Allah, the more you get from that. As the Hadith Qudsi mentions, فَإِذَا أَحْبَبْتُهُ كُنْتُ سَمْعَهُ الَّذِي يَسْمَعُ بِهِ وَبَصَرَهُ الَّذِي يُبْصِرُ بِهِ until the end of the Hadith, right? وَإِذَا سَأَلَنِي لَأُعْطِيَنَّهُ وَلَئِنِ اسْتَعَاذَنِي لَأُعِيذَنَّهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if I love someone, I become their eyes, their ears, where they go and what they do. And if they ask me, I will give them. Allah saying by oath, if they ask me, wallahi, I'm going to give them. And if they seek refuge in me, wallahi, I'm going to protect them. Right? So when we talk about the pleasure of Allah, pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it taps into the most important aspect of the whole human project. And that is feeling that you are loved and having someone to love. Without pleasing Allah, this becomes either vulnerable or becomes compromised. Compromise, love yourself. It's compromise. Vulnerable is that when your love is placed in other than Allah, that love becomes a source of stress. Right? You look at all these sitcoms and these shows and whatnot that revolve around love, and I love that person, they're all stressed out. Or we didn't even need to go there. We can talk about these younger ones who, they want to marry someone, and there's interest there and they're stressed out. How do I approach the person? How this and that? Right? This is the unhealthy manifestation of attachment. Right? So pleasing Allah essentially creates what's called in psychology a center point. there's always something to go back to that will balance everything else out. Because a human being is constantly moving around, emotionally speaking, mentally speaking, they're everywhere, right? And this whole idea of tuma'nina, who mentioned the verse? No, who mentioned the verse? Ala bi dhikrillah tatma'innul qulub, right? طيب. Ibn Qayyim presents this concept of tuma'nina, tranquility, in a very psychological way. He says that this tranquility Allah talks about is the center point. That whenever you're mentally, you're not there, emotionally, you're everywhere, you're stressed out, whatever it is, you're angry, the remembrance of Allah essentially takes you back to that center point that calms you down. That's stable. This is what we gain from pleasing Allah. Yes, what matters most is our situation in the afterlife. But it's not only the afterlife that we are going to benefit, right? It's also this life as well. Hence, when you look at the companions, I'm talking about their life. Were they living lives that were miserable? No, man, any one of us would love to be in their shoes, right? Just from the sheer self-esteem that they had, power that they were given through the Quran. I mean, any one of us wants that, but that comes from pleasing Allah. And when it comes to really the question of where do I get that strength from, that companion strength from, the answer is when you please Allah, Allah rewards you with that strength. It's not always about the philosophies and the knowledge and the implementation and the habits and all of this. A good chunk of it is actually when you do good deeds, when you please Allah, and Allah wants to really reward you with something special, He rewards you with increased iman. Right? And that's how Allah used to reward the companions when they would do things, as the Quran said, لِيَزْدَادُوا إِيمَانًا مَعَ إِيمَانِهِمْ. Allah put them through that so that their iman increases on top of the iman that they already have. Right? Any questions on that so far?
Would you also say, to tie it in with center point, that if you please Allah, He will provide you with this center point?
Yeah. There's this reduction in stress and anxiety and whatnot, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَمَنْ تَبِعَ هُدَايَ فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. Whoever follows my guidance, then, just to kind of paraphrase here, it has the extent to which you follow Allah's guidance sincerely reduces your anxiety and your fear and your regret. It reduces these things, right? Conversely, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا. Whoever turns away from my remembrance, for them is a miserable life. All right, questions? Go ahead and take a 10-minute break, inshallah. Be back at 8:40.
Well, actually, try something that, like, you'll show me on like the app where, notability can tape over it. Press it to yeah, but, yeah, when I use a book, I just use another note, and just cover it. Oh, that's right. Actually, I always put it down my note. Really good. Start on the bottom row, that way you can feel it properly, so you don't look at. So, yeah, because
Yeah.
it is feeling good, exactly. So it's.
Actually,
Sure, whatever you want. I can test you first if you want. So just chapter 3, okay? Infant or child? Think about uneven. Yeah. Close together. Or like place.
No.
Dog. Okay, wouldn't try to do. If you want, that's the idea.
Yeah.
Like. Water. You know. Perhaps. I need to area. Emotional heart. I mean, they look stuff. We impact that. Wrong. And we impact the air. Cloud. Going. On the residence. Oh, yeah, you're right, that's it. Enemy. And you impact. Cool. Probably.
Sure.
When you said how would you use?
Yeah.
What do that?
I would.
Oh, yeah.
Not worthy of.
No, but.
There was a lot.
Yeah, that was.
the one that you guys.
You know,
we got started with.
or.
Oh, okay.
Take some real stuff.
Oh, we do?
you know.
Yeah, put a ring on it.
Yeah,
Why?
exactly. Like I really think over from that angle, like why?
Well, yeah.
Why are you
Yeah.
just being there to satisfy his desires and like,
Mhm.
he's not gonna go like talk to your dad and get ready.
There you go, yeah. He's not ready to put a ring on it. He's not worthy.
It's kind of differentiate between the two. I don't remember what one is right, but one is Adabu. And one is Kabibu, very powerful. Akabu. Yeah, that was hard. Even the end of this, Akabu, if you call it headphone. I just remember with that one, like, it's a few. That's what I'm with you too. Yeah.
And for like, I'm not good. I'm not good. The difference is when it's short, it's really old. Which one do you into? This one. Like before the. They went on 5 years old. They're like, this goes in it's so hard, but. I don't use it for anything that we require. Using it.
Yeah. Is there, how many, second to last letter? No, yeah.
Good, because like. They make it so. You don't actually use it for what. Yeah. You replace a computer and then make software on it. It's really, and it's, you have to go a lot to do this. But even the, that was on your laptop.
So, and then. We're talking about it.
The high school kids don't wash their hands.
You, practice.
Which one? I'm not responsible for the high school kids.
They just walk down right out of the stall.
You did it right. Didn't you?
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, but you could do the homework without doing the vocab.
Oh, no, that.
The vocab. Yeah.
So, okay.
Stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I still feel reading vocabulary, but I did the work at it.
With the vocabulary.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
See, I couldn't do it Monday. I need like 3 or 4 days. It's just like, yeah, 20 minutes.
I just need like, I need a certain amount of time from, if you give me one day and give me 30 minutes, I can do it. I have to have that.
You got that.
You need one day and
Muscle.
yeah, maybe 5 days.
There you go, so, like,
It works best if you do it like that. 30 minutes, and then the next morning you also do it.
say it again. What's your method?
You just use either flashcards or like cover it up. You just like do the word and then the definition, word and definition over and over.
For me, I write it down a few times, that helps.
You can.
Yeah.
If I forget the word, I can remember my, like the stroke.
Or I can see it in my mind. Yeah.
For the body parts, you monitor something a lot.
Yeah.
What do they do? Like heal, did my tattoo, I was like tattoo, heal.
You gotta make a random thing in your mind.
That one, for like chat, you know, like that helps me, like every time I do that, but I think that.
For a cup, like capsule. I was imagining the cap, it looks like a cup. It's easy to.
Asking to review the air, it's like those ones. You just want right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just because the air is sensitive.
Which words?
It'll go like warm.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Mom,
Cup shit.
not great then, but like that.
Okay.
All right, let's continue. So chapter 2, Al-Quran. So in this chapter, we go over how the scholars define the Quran, meaning what definition they gave to this term, Al-Quran. Now, to start the conversation, the Prophet ﷺ, he himself described the Quran. I wouldn't call this a definition, but he described the Quran. So if someone can read toward the bottom of page 3, where it says the Prophet ﷺ said Allah's book, to continue. Someone can read.
Starting from where?
Towards the bottom of the page, the Prophet ﷺ said,
Oh. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah's book, in it is news of those before you, information about what comes after you, and judgment for what happens between you. It is a criterion between right and wrong without jest. Whoever among the oppressors abandons it Allah crushes him, and whoever seeks guidance from other than it, then Allah leads him to astray. It is the firm rope of Allah, the wise remembrance, the straight path. It is the one that desires cannot distort, nor can the tongues twist, nor can the scholars ever have enough of it. It shall not become dull from repetition, and the wonders of it do not diminish. It is the one that the jinns heard it, they did not hesitate to say about it, verily, we have heard a wonderful recitation, this Quran. It guides to the right path, and we have believed therein. Whoever speaks according to it has spoken the truth. Whoever acts according to it is rewarded. Whoever judges by it has been just, and whoever invites to it has been guided to the straight path. When talking about definitions, scholars talk about the linguistic as well as the technical meaning of a word.
That's enough. All right, so that's the way the Prophet described the Quran. And between you and yourself, you can review that and look at how you can more practically approach the Quran and apply the Quran, because this description of the Prophet gives you the gist of how the Quran should manifest itself in your life. But from there, when you look at, as you go through these courses and whatnot, you'll come up, when you want to define a word, you'll define it in two ways. One, lughatan, that you'll see, lughatan, or linguistic. The linguistic definition, meaning as a word from the Arabic language, what does it mean? Just as a word from the Arabic language. And then the other is istilahan, or technical.
What's that say in Arabic?
Istilahan. Istilahan. Saha. Right. You'll see abbreviated like this in books. Alif and Asad means istilahan. And the technical definition of something is how that word is used within a field of study. So for example, let's take the word infinity. As an English word, infinity means something, but the way it's used maybe in mathematics or calculus might be different than the way it's used in engineering. Might have the same general connotation, but its application might be slightly different based on field of study. All right. So what is the linguistic definition of the Quran? So lughatan, the word Quran goes to the root qara'a. Qara'a. And qara'a actually has a root as well, and that is qur. Qur means for something to be gathered. Qur means for something to be gathered. Qara'a can mean to read. It can also mean to recite. To recite or to speak. How is that root qur or qara'a, how does it relate to qur? When you read something, you're reading a gathering of words, compilation of words. When you recite or speak something, it's never just one letter. It's a gathering of letters or words. All right. So back then they would say iqra ala fulan as-salam. As Jibreel, I believe Jibreel alayhi salam told the Prophet, tell Khadija, and Allah yaqra'u alayha as-salam. that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives his salam to Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, right? Or it just means to read. Quran then means that which is read or recited. That which is read or recited when you get into the masdar form. Right, so Quran linguistically means that which is read or recited, something that is read or recited. And in the Quran, you have the linguistic usage of the word. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Recite in the name of your Lord who created you. Iqra. You also have وَلَوْ أَنَّ قُرْآنًا سُيِّرَتْ بِهِ الْجِبَالُ أَوْ قُطِّعَتْ بِهِ الْأَرْضُ أَوْ كُلِّمَ بِهِ الْمَوْتَى بَلْ لِلَّهِ الْأَمْرُ جَمِيعًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَوْ أَنَّ قُرْآنًا. If there was a Quran that has the power to cause the mountains to split and the earth to split and the dead to speak, it would be this Quran. Meaning, if there was something out there that could be read, right? وَلَوْ أَنَّ قُرْآنًا. If something out there could be read that has this power or effect, it would be this Quran. That makes sense? So that's a linguistic usage of the term. وَلَوْ أَنَّ قُرْآنًا. If there was something that was read that can do this, all right? Any questions on that? Clear? All right. Now for the technical definition, here we're going to take some time. To lay it all out, the technical definition of the Quran is as follows. It is the inimitable Arabic speech of Allah that He revealed. It's in the book, so you don't have to write it down. To Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Through the angel Jibril, which has been preserved in the Masahif, written copies of the Quran, and has reached us by transmission. And has reached us by mass transmission. All right, so there's a lot going on here. So pay attention, listen up. The scholars of Islam, when putting a definition, a technical definition to something, there are two primary goals. It is jami' and mani'. It encompasses all the necessary aspects and elements of what's being defined, and it defines it in a way that makes it clearly defined from other things. So when you define something, you're giving it a distinct shape or a distinct image that clearly indicates to you what it is, while also simultaneously differentiating it from other things. All right, so that's the goal here. In other words, are there books out there similar to the Quran in nature? No? You're saying yes.
I mean, from others' perspective, yes,
Like what?
the Bible.
Like the Bible. Revelation, right? Hadith Qudsi from Allah, right? So you have areas where there might be some overlap with the Quran. We want to make sure the Quran is distinct and unique, right? So while the scholars give slightly different definitions, depending on what they think is necessary as part of the definition of the Quran versus what's not, this is what Sheikh Farhan chose. And so you all have the definition here written down. What I want you to do is the following. There are, I believe, six primary elements here. And we go through them one by one. But for now, I want you to underline the following. Inimitable, that's one. Arabic, that's two. Speech of Allah, that's three. Revealed to the Prophet, ﷺ, that's four. The angel Jibreel, ﷺ, that's five. And then mass transmission, that's six. So these are the six elements that makes the Quran, right? And so if you are asked on your test, right, define the Quran in length, you're going to focus on these six things, and you're going to give an explanation to each one and how each one differentiates the Quran from things that might overlap with it. Right? So the first of these things is the Quran is inimitable. What on earth does that mean? Inimitable essentially means there's nothing similar to it. In other words, the Quran is perfect and miraculous. Quran is perfect and miraculous in nature. So if someone were to be, all philosophical and take one of these ijaz of Sahih Muslim here, right? And come and say, prove to me this isn't the word of God. Right? You have this ijaz right here. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen alladhi ja'ala ahl al-hadith, etc. to the end. Prove to me God didn't say this. What's your answer? That's such like a third grader response.
Behind it, like, yeah.
Prove to me God didn't say this. You have the answer right here.
It's imperfect.
Exactly. It's not perfect. It's not inimitable. The fact that it's not perfect by default means it's not from God, because God is what? Perfect. And only perfection can come from him, right? So in order for us to accept something from Allah, we must accept it to be what? Perfect, miraculous. All right. So if I had the translation of the Quran here, is this a Quran or no? Why not?
It's not pretty. It's not in Arabic.
It's not in Arabic, right? What else? Because it's translated by human beings, and therefore there will be some mistakes, right? Okay. What about let's say the Torah? Based on just this element of the definition, is there a difference between the Quran and the Torah?
Yes.
Just from this element right here, just from this. Forget about everything else.
Okay.
Just this inimitability. Or are they both the same here? The same.
It's the same.
Yeah?
No.
No? What about the Quran and Hadith Qudsi? Same?
No.
Just based on this element, number one right here. Forget about everything else. At this point of the definition, is Quran and Torah equal? Is the Quran and Hadith Qudsi equal?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. What does it mean for the Quran to be miraculous? We all go around saying the Quran's a miracle, it's miraculous, right? Yeah. Prove it's wrong and all this. What does it mean for it to be miraculous?
Doesn't it like contain like first of all, it's like a linguistic miracle. Like,
Okay.
like nobody in the time, even until they spoke the language, they couldn't replicate it.
Mm-hmm.
And also contains like predictions. For example, like I think in the beginning of Surah Rum, like it predicts the fall of one of the empires,
Not the fall of an empire.
or that the Muslims would conquer it.
No, it predicted the result of a second battle between the Romans and the Persians, but there's nothing we can prove about that.
And then
No. There's nothing we can prove about that. We can't prove exactly when that verse came down and when those battles, what year those battles happened. We know they happened, but what year exactly did that battle happen? And what year exactly did that verse revealed? We today can't prove it. Obviously, the companions, they're following the actual timeline, right? We're just looking in retrospect. So there's nothing for us to prove. What does it mean for the Quran to be miraculous? So Isa said a linguistic element.
So you're going to just have to speak. Sheikh's not going to look at our hands here.
Oh, can you repeat that?
Saad has been raising his hand for quite sometimes. I told him you're going to have to speak because you told us to speak as opposed to raising our hands.
Yeah. I'm not really looking too much at the screen. So if you have something to say online, just say it.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing as Ray said, that the like the grammar and the words that are used, they're very consistent. The way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses, there's a grammar to describe things, but there's no inconsistencies, there's no mistakes, and it's not something that a human can do, the language.
Okay. Anyone else want to chime in on that?
It's it's miraculous, and on that, it didn't come in the written form. It came as a recital. So we speak and we make like hundreds of mistakes in our speeches, whereas that came in the recitation form, and yet they're so well formed.
Okay. So made predictions, or not predictions, but spoke about the past, right? Well, someone come today, well, I don't believe in Noah. I don't believe the earth was flooded. Who's a Salih guy, right?
Mhm.
And an earthquake or like a major shock wave occurred. What's that stuff? There's no evidence for that.
It's the only text that we have that's ever been preserved orally, with chains of narration, like from Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam all the way down to people who have.
Okay, so if today people wanted to replicate that with, you know, a poem of 5 lines,
Mhm.
can it be done?
Yes.
Okay, so something miraculous there.
So I guess it's linguistic.
Just linguistic,
I
huh?
thought miraculous was maybe just alluding to the fact that it, you know, it came from Allah to the angel, from the angel to the prophet. So
Sure, but I mean, if you tell that to a non-Muslim,
you're saying how do you demonstrate this to someone else? Okay.
even to your own selves, right? Even to your children, your family members. Okay,
Like
so-
when you read the poems of the best poems like Al-Mutanabi, they contain many mistakes in grammar and other and the language,
so
and it could be
we
better.
accept the linguistic element of the miraculous nature of the Quran, right? Okay, so accordingly, is the Torah is also miraculous as well. Hadith Qudsi is miraculous as well. Yeah.
It has not been preserved.
Okay, let's just talk about when the Torah was first revealed to Musa alayhi salam. Yeah. Okay, so now my question to you is the following. Well, before that, I guess, when it comes to what does it mean that the Quran is miraculous? To be very honest, beyond the linguistic element of it, I don't know how to present that personally. Because all the time you get these scientific miracles of the Quran. You all heard this? Yeah. They have like a nice book that you got when you first became a Muslim or when you first started becoming interested about Islam or whatever. I remember that book. And while there might be, while that information might be correct, it's really miraculous. Right? When you say miraculous information, it means that there's no way they could have known it. Whereas a lot of what is presented in that book could have been known. So for example, the two oceans meet, the fresh and the salty. It's a scientific miracle. No, somebody could have, you know,
That one never, yeah, that one never.
Someone could have been on a boat and noticed, huh, what's going on here? And just taste them both. Oh, I guess salt water and fresh water don't mix. It's not a miracle. A lot of times they will misconstrue a verse to become scientific. Like for example, يا أيها الناس ضرب مثل فاستمعوا له إن الذين تدعون من دون الله لن يخلقوا ذبابا ولو اجتمعوا له وإن يسلبهم الذباب شيئا لا يستنقذوه منه. Right? They'll take this verse where basically it's saying that if a fly takes something from an idol, the idol can't take it back. Right? And the comment says scientific miracle. The flies are the only animals that digest its food before they actually eat it. So it can never be known what the fly ate because it's already digested before it even enters the body. And this stuff. That's not what the verse is saying. The verse is talking about how they are worshiping something that cannot defend itself from a fly. That's the point of the verse. So they misconstrue it, right? So the whole idea of scientific miracles in the Quran is exaggerated. It's not non-existent. There's at least one, right? There's at least one verse that we can comfortably say this is really a scientific miracle, and that is the stages of the fetus. No way anybody could have known that, period. The description is too spot on, right? And based on those technologies, no way anyone could have known. So yeah, the possibility of a scientific miracle in the Quran is there. Beyond this particular miracle, I think there's a lot of exaggerations, all right? So what we can comfortably say is a scientific miracle is the linguistic nature of the Quran. Now, the next question is as follows. can Allah speak in a way that's less than miraculous? No? Tough question, huh?
So no.
We got some no's. Can Allah
Allah is perfect.
in a way that's less than miraculous?
He can, but it's not befitting to his attributes.
We're not talking about like, let's stick with kind of this topic here.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I was thinking more like perfection, like everything he says is perfect, it's gonna be elevated in comparison to human beings. But if miraculous is something distinct, I mean, he tells stories in the Quran, which are just, he tells stories.
So everything in the Quran is miraculous. The linguistic aspect of the entirety of the Quran is miraculous. The question becomes, we go back to this question of, is the Torah in its original form miraculous? Is Hadith Qudsi miraculous? The answer is no. They're not. Right? Why? Like, why didn't Allah reveal the Torah and the Injil in a way that is miraculous, like the Quran?
Because at the time the Arabs were focused on language, so Allah revealed something that was befitting for their culture.
That's true, right? But my question isn't tapping into that.
Maybe he gave other prophets an abundance of other miracles that were specific to them. And then Allah gave his miracle to the Prophet ﷺ for us as an audience.
So Allah has given an abundance of miracles to the Prophet as well, right?
Yeah,
Beyond the Quran, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying.
Where the real question comes in is, why would Allah send revelation to Musa and Isa, right, in a non-miraculous way, versus he gave it to the Prophet in a miraculous way? I'm talking about just the book, Hidayah.
Maybe the people of that time weren't prepared to receive this.
Hold on. But his people were many centuries. The Jews were required to apply the Torah throughout their time. You're talking about hundreds of years. Hamad?
Maybe the people of the time weren't prepared to receive this type of miraculous speech. Like, you can't go straight to college unless you go to high school, and so Allah prepared the ummah.
But the Bedouins were less sophisticated than the previous these nations that received these other revelations.
Yeah.
Sanna?
Just be like the previous one. For people to be like, oh, why should I read Judaism? Why should I read Christianity? It's more or less the same thing. So it had to have something miraculous, it had to have something that maybe not that this is the final message.
Okay, but what does that entail for the Torah and the Injil? Why then shouldn't the Torah and the Injil be miraculous?
This is part
Okay.
The previous prophets were given miracles for their people. So Isa son rose the dead, Musa son, parted the sea. The most miraculous thing that the Arabs could have received was something so linguistically perfect, because that was the epitome of, that was the thing that was most
Sure, but a question isn't in relevance to their people and portraying the message. It's in the question of, okay, why didn't Allah just make the Torah miraculous? Why not? Right? Send my kind of right there. Right? Well, the answer is because it wasn't meant to last. The Torah and the Injil were not meant to last. They're meant for a temporary thing. Right? Whereas the Quran is meant to remain permanently till the end of times. So by not making it miraculous, it's essentially indicating, or it's essentially allowing the space for it to become distorted and corrupted. Whereas the Quran, because it's miraculous, cannot become obsolete or become corrupted or distorted. Right? Does that make sense? The same thing with Hadith Qudsi, right? Now, Hadith Qudsi isn't going to become distorted or whatever, but Hadith Qudsi is not, the role of Hadith Qudsi is not meant to be the role of the Quran. Hadith Qudsi kind of gives you some bits and pieces that are very useful, but it's not the Quran. It's not meant to play that function or that role. Right?
So I'm confused what you mean when you say the Torah, for example, was not miraculous, or none of the previous revelations were miraculous, but the Quran is. Could you just expound more on why other revelations were not miraculous? Like, what about them is missing?
It wasn't at the level of eloquence of the Quran. Because the function of the Torah and the Injil within those, generations of believers is slightly different than the function of the Quran, right? The Torah and the Injil played a role, but it seems like their focus is always more on either like their prophet, more so like for us, the prophet is what? What's the function of the Prophet ﷺ in the life of a believer? A role model that manifests what? The Quran. So for us, the Prophet is our door to the Quran. But for these, like Musa ﷺ is the figure, right? It's Musa. I mean, some of them, Musa is more important than Allah. So it's like, that's the end. The Torah is just like Musa's instructions, or the instructions Allah gave Musa. See what I mean here? So when you think of the mind of the Christian, what is the center point of the Christian life? It's Isa alayhi salam. What is the center of a Jew's life, a practicing Jew's life? I don't really know, but
no one knows.
I didn't mean that. But for the Muslim, what is in the center of the mind of the Muslim? Allah. Well, the fact that the Quran is so miraculous, maybe that's why we have that discrepancy there. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to sidetrack us, but I'm just curious. So you're saying that the Torah and the Injil, it's not anything like the Quran insofar as the Quran is, I don't know, like a composition or whatnot. It's something verbatim, while the message that was sent to them was not something that they would like give verbatim to their people.
No, it's not about that.
Okay.
It's just about what is the function Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to each of these books. The Quran is much, it seems like it's much more central than, let's say, the Torah and the Injil and each of the respected religions. Furthermore, the Judaism, what's called Christianity, was meant to be a temporary phase before the coming of the Quran. And so, the question of why did Allah allow the Torah and the Injil to become corrupted, but does not allow the Quran to be corrupted? That is because the Torah and the Injil were, lack of a better term, stepping stones to the final phase, right? So to allow room for the final phase to come in and, take its place within broader society, then the Torah and the Injil need to have lost its, I guess, I don't know, what do you want to call it, credibility, its influence, or its credibility influence is much more much less significant. Does that make sense?
So the fact that those two were corrupted, by definition, they can't be miraculous.
Exactly.
They were corruptible.
Exactly, right? So one of the miraculous natures of the Quran is that you can't corrupt it, as the Prophet ﷺ says in his definition. Right. So that's the first element of the definition. It is miraculous or inimitable. It has no equal. The second is it's in Arabic. Or before that, right, that's what it's Arabic. Now, this is pretty obvious, right? So what are types of revelation that are in Arabic? Obviously, the Torah and the Injil. They are the word of Allah, but they're not Arabic. What is Arabic? The Hadith, for example. Hadith is from Allah, as we'll get to, and it is Arabic. So there's similarity here. There's difference between Torah, Injil, and Quran in terms of Arabic. Right? So if someone were to ask, what's the difference between Quran and Hadith? We're not going to say one is Arabic, one isn't. We're going to say one is miraculous, the other isn't. Okay. All right, so let's come back to modern times and say, why can't I recite the Quran in Salah in English? Have you heard this before?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had people in my community come to me and say, Sheikh, we want to understand the Quran. Why can't you recite in English in Salah? What's the response to that?
It's not the Quran.
It's not the Quran, right? Yeah, Sheikh, but we want to understand. Isn't it better that we understand in English? Or is it better for us not to understand in Arabic? Isn't one of the goals of the Quran for you to understand? Yeah. So what's the response? Hidayah? I don't understand Arabic. I don't get any meaning in Arabic. But in English, I understand it. I don't understand Arabic. If I understood Arabic, I wouldn't be having this conversation. But I don't.
So read the English outside of Salah.
Right? No, but in Salah, I don't have time outside of Salah. Things are busy and whatnot.
It's not the same book. So it's like, would you rather read what you're supposed to read in the language the language you don't understand, than read like a different book in language you do understand?
The language I do understand.
So just read Harry Potter.
No, hold on. I'd rather read it in the language I understand.
A different book. Because we're saying it's not the Quran.
Well, why are you taking me to a different book? I'm talking about I'd rather read the Quran in English when I understand than recite it in Arabic and I don't understand.
Well, I'm thinking
Go ahead, finish.
I'm saying it's not the same book because the translation, there's a bunch of
Now we're just getting technicalities here. In the end, is it okay for me to read the translation of the Quran? Am I getting something out of it? Okay.
Would we lose almost the preservation of the salah if we keep changing it and translating it?
The preservation of the Salah?
Yeah, so if we keep
It's just
translating it
changing
eventually-
the language, that's it. We're doing the bowing and the prostrating and the same number of rak'ahs at the same time. That's not a big deal.
to pray not count.
Fiqh-wise, it doesn't count, right? But
Guidance wise.
we're talking about, discuss with me. What's your name? Ahmed.
Then we just look back at the definition. Said Arabic speech of Allah.
Yeah, I understand that the Quran is this. But I'm saying I benefit more when the Quran is translated. Isn't it better for me to understand? They're really good. They have a lot of 5-star reviews on Amazon, right? The answer is as follows. What's your name? Ram. Okay, yes. Go ahead. Why not? We're going back to the companion stuff, right? Why can't we just adapt? Man, the shuyukh, they always come. When microphones came out, no, you can't use microphone. Haram. Now we have microphones. And then he said, don't live stream. Now we're live streaming. And he said, don't do that. Now we're doing this. This is what they come with, right? My answer is as follows. What is the purpose of salah?
Worship God as he wants to be worshipped.
To worship God as he wants to be worshipped. Give me a word for that.
Submission.
Remembrance. For remembrance, I can remember Allah in English, right?
Submission.
I can say praise be God. Say it loud and proud.
Submission.
Submission. Whenever someone comes and starts questioning why this, why can't we do that? Take it back to submission. Because they can't question that. Yes, you don't understand the Quran in Arabic, but what you are benefiting from is the fact that you're submitting. That's what you're gaining. And submitting to Allah while not understanding what you're saying is more valuable than not submitting to Allah while understanding what you're saying. Take it back to submission. All right. When someone comes and argues with you, why is this haram? How come this? Why can't we change it? Don't get into nitty-gritty this and try to prove it to them and whatnot. Ask them the following. If the Prophet was here and said this is haram, are you comfortable with that? And see that their answer is. If their answer is, no, I don't think he would say that. No, I don't think that's not my question. My question is, if he said it, are you comfortable with what he said? Wallahi, I've had people not be able to say yes. Muslims. And if they're not comfortable with submitting to Allah and His Messenger, what's the point of having a discussion in the first place? Their problem is much bigger than is music haram. Okay, Ahmed?
Going back to the beginning of the class, how do we then, like you said, just tell them to submit, but at the beginning of the class, you said, explain to them like
that's the explanation. Now I understand where it's a good point, right? The explanation to why we do it is the submission element. That submission is part of the experience. And if you truly love someone or something, you submit to them on their terms, not on yours. That's not love. It's like, yeah, Dad, I'll love you if you buy me some toys. That's not love. You see what I mean here? All right. So the second is, it's in Arabic. Now, is there anything wrong with translating the Quran? Absolutely not, right? Number 3, it's the speech of Allah. Meaning, Allah literally spoke it. He said it. All right. Now, what does that entail in terms of what it differentiates from other aspects of, let's say, wahi revelation? And that is, hadith is Arabic, but it's not the speech of Allah. It's the speech of the Prophet. Now, when it comes to hadith Qudsi, some scholars said that the words of Allah, X, Y, and Z, is literally the words of Allah. He spoke that. Other scholars said that, no, that's the Prophet, his explanation, his paraphrasing of what Allah has taught him. So you have a difference of opinion there. So it's literally the speech of Allah. Is the Torah the speech of Allah? The Injil?
It's part of what makes the speech of Allah that it's like tanzil, that it's brought down.
No, it's that
inspired.
Allah spoke it.
Okay.
Allah said it. When we say this is the word of Allah, meaning Allah has said it.
It would seem like the Torah was the words of God.
Personally, I don't know. I don't know like how they view the nature of the Torah. The Injil is in our days like, what is the Injil? What does Allah mean when He talks about the Injil? I think there's a little bit of confusion, right? Because is it the Gospels? Like, were the Gospels once the Injil, and then over time it's been added and removed and whatnot? Or no? And there's confusion. I mean, some Muslim scholars today, they say the Bible, what's called the New Testament, is not the Injil. It's two different things. I don't know. This isn't my field, but I still give you all some questions to have in your mind. So the speech of Allah, when we say that, it means literally Allah spoke it, right? Now, throughout Islamic history for several centuries, one of the biggest debates within the Muslim community was this attribute of Allah, al-kalam, Allah's speech, right? What does it mean and whatnot? What I'll say in this regard is the following. What year do you all take Aqidah? Do you take it this year? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know exactly what you go over when it comes to Aqidah, but I want to show you something very interesting. So this is the time of the Prophet, alayhi salatu wassalam. This is today. So you're talking about a nice 1400 years, right? This is year 700. So for about the first, 100 years or so, things were a-okay. And then after this, it's about 100 here, let's say around 200 Hijrah, you have mass translations of Greek philosophy into Arabic. A translator back then was paid $20,000 to $30,000 a month. That was their salary, right? A very wealthy time for the Muslims. They start mass translating Greek works, Western philosophical works. And with that comes Aristotelian thought, right? And a huge discussion comes around, how do we understand certain vague elements of our aqidah, like Allah's names and His attributes, okay? Among which is Allah's speech. What does that mean, Allah has spoken? I understand the discussion, but don't care about it a lot. The Muslims debated this for literally 500, 600 years. They were at each other's throats, calling each other innovators and this and that, right? Because of this. Today, does anyone bring it up? No. Why not? Is it not important? 600 years, they couldn't let this topic go. And today, we don't even talk about it. What happened? Are we failing to understand its importance?
We don't read Greek literature.
We don't read Greek literature, right? No, but honestly, did they see something that we didn't see? Or did they over-exaggerate? Or maybe it's a mix of both. There are certain things they saw that we aren't paying much attention to. And at the same time, they exaggerated certain things that we have come to realize aren't that important. So it's a mix of both. So what you find in Islamic history is something very interesting. When the Mongols entered from Mongolia into the Muslim world, completely destroyed the caliphate, completely destroyed the eastern part of the Muslim world, completely ravished it. Talking about millions killed, right? After that era, all these philosophical conversations that Muslims could not let go, nobody spoke about them anymore. Very interesting. It begs the question, well, why? What happened? Right? So there is exaggeration. But what is it? Like people like Ghazali and even Taymiyyah, really the top-notch scholars who engage in these conversations, what did they realize about the Aristotelian approach to understanding Allah's names and his attributes that we don't really see today? And the answer is the way Aristotelian thought views theology gets society to secularism. It makes them secular. Hence, Western world today is what? Secular. Influenced by their tradition of philosophies, when the Enlightenment philosophers began to reinterpret Christianity in light of these philosophies, what ended up happening? Became secular. And by secular, I don't mean a system of politics. I mean a way of life, where religion is private and everything else is public. Religion is not in the public sphere, right? They understood this. So the Mu'tazilites, who really adopted the Aristotelian method of understanding Allah, when you look, subhanAllah, you see a lot of overlap between Mu'tazilite thought and the Enlightenment philosophers. The Enlightenment philosophers took it from the Mu'tazilites. Right? They took it from them, and it led to secularization of religion. So it's important in one way, but completely unimportant in another way. What does it really mean that Allah speaks? Who cares? We know this is the word of Allah. Beyond that, how Allah speaks, wallahi, it's completely irrelevant to us when you think about it. But when it comes to how we understand Allah, right? If somebody gets that wrong, it can be very problematic to their iman. Allah ta'ala. Go ahead and stop here. We'll continue at the fourth element of the definition. We'll see you all next week, inshallah. But yeah.
If with the Mongols attacking, you said it kind of just disappeared after.
Oh, it disappears.
Is it pretty much another one of the things that happen when you have too much leisure time and you start hunting everyone?
No, I think what happened is the following. It's a question that's been on my mind for a while. Perhaps, it's a perhaps. Those who adopted this way of thinking, like this Mu'tazilite, etc. So when the Mongols came in, especially into Syria and whatnot, they have already claimed to have adopted Islam. Right, so the Ilkhanids, they have already adopted Islam. So they began to come into Syria as proclaimed Muslims, and with the political argument of the Mamluks have been oppressing you all, we're here to come in for you, right? And so a lot of these, the Qadaris, the Jabris, the Mu'tazilites sided with these guys who wreaked havoc. So it was their poor political position that I think caused them to lose credibility in all of this. So as much as Ibn Taymiyyah and Ghazali really push back against them, it's not them who brought their demise. They contributed, but what brought their demise is their hypocrisy and their poor stance. So when you think of somebody, imagine like a popular, you know what, let's just be frank, take someone like Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, right? I have the utmost respect for him. I have nothing bad to say about him. But people question him because of his stance with the Emirates, with like Trump and right wing and all this stuff. He loses credibility in front of the eyes of the public, right? And again, I don't mean to say this to put him down or to say, you know, don't learn from him or anything like that, but that's a real-time example. Love.
Yeah.
I think it's fun.
Mine too. That's why, because you started writing as a kid. I don't know when you started writing here, it's in your folder. You already had like your kind of now habituated on. Yeah. My handwriting is terrible as well, but the narrative is not too bad. Someone comes in and writing it anyway. That's how I write it. That's not really I see that because like this is like I just know that but you write it like that. Yeah, isn't it different if we go for the 10 years, right? Like this, in all the books. Like the food. You rate the quizzes. That's why some people do definitely don't. I just speak up. Yeah, I'll see that too. Okay. Easy.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. This is week 3. This week 3.
Yeah.
Is it me or is like has the dip started? Especially on this side.
On the men's side.
It has, right?
Not looking good.
Survival of the fittest. It is what it is. That's why sometimes I in the beginning I'll give the first quiz, but I won't. Then I'll give the second quiz, and I still won't have graded the first quiz because I'll just wait. Like if students are gonna leave, I'm just wasting time correcting the first and second quiz. I'll just wait till they leave, so I don't have to correct it. I can just draft it immediately. It's wasting my time if I correct it and then they leave. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't make sense.
Very much hard Wednesday quiz to with writing.
I don't teach effects.
Oh, yeah, first day.
We can share that action as a quiz on Wednesday.
Yeah.
You're gonna get owned. What's she testing you on? She's only taught you twice. Pronouns and past tense verbs. Correct?
To give us new vocab too.
It's the vocab, it's the.
Past what?
And what's the,
Oh, the vocab. How many words?
11 lines, so it's like 33 words.
Modalities.
It's the same word, just different word.
No, it's 33 different words.
We have to memorize the Madi.
The Madi, the Mudari, the Masdar. And the pronouns and the past tense. Is that what it is? Well, the pronouns and the past tense, you guys have down, right? You guys mastered it, mashallah. Right? All that's left is the words.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm extremely reasonable, yes. And I, yeah, anytime, like I happen to schedule a quiz or say here's a quiz and it happens to coincide with another teacher, I'll immediately move. I like, because they teach you once a week and I teach you, unfortunately for you, 4 times a week, right? But like, all of that stuff, yeah, I'm extremely reasonable stuff, but yeah, that's cool. We can push it to Thursday, right? Until you hear about Sheikh Zaid's quiz on Thursday, but then it's a different story. But yeah, that's fine. But it's great that you brought that up. DJ, what are the pronouns quickly? Arabic. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Noor, what are they? Good. Shah, what are they? Saraj, quickly.
هو ما هم هي هما هن أنت أنتما أنتم أنت أنتما أنتن أنا لا.
Hidayah, what are they? What? Who and who? One more time, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. Good. طيب, what are they?
هو هما هم هي هما هنا أنت أنتما أنتم أنت أنتما أنتنا أنا نحن.
Good. Let's see. Saad, what are they?
هو هما هم هي هما هن أنت أنتما أنتم أنت أنتما أنتنا أنا نحن.
I'm gonna assume you said them right. And one last time. Muhammad Mardini, what are they?
Yeah, أنت أنتما أنتم أنت أنتما أنتنا أنا.
Phenomenal. Good. So that part of Sheikh Aisha's test you guys got covered, right? You're done. كتب, conjugate in past tense. Yeah, Isa, go.
كتب كتبا كتبوا كتبت كتبتها كتبنا كتبت كتبتما كتبتم كتبتي كتبتما كتبتن كتبتو كتبنا.
Good. Rama, أكل. Good. Grant, فتح.
فتح فتحا فتحوا فتحت فتحتا فتحنا فتحت فتحتما فتحتم فتحتي فتحتما فتحتمنا فتحتو فتحنا.
Good. Let's go. Amira, رجع.
رجعت رجعنا رجعت رجعتما رجعتم رجعتي رجعتما رجعتن رجعت رجعت.
Good. إنشاء, درس. Good, you guys are ready. Just do it tomorrow. Really quickly, let's go. Let's see. Salma, a word in Arabic can be divided into 3 categories. What are they? اسم فعل حرف. نور, sentences, two different types of sentences. جملة اسمية. Michelle needs a. We're just not going to consider that an answer, but go ahead. Amira? Good. Rama, جملة فعلية needs a. فعل فاعل, verb, someone who did the verb, or the action and someone who did the action, and then sometimes a مفعول به, direct object of the verb. Good. Hidayah, the Arabic terminology for masculine and feminine is? Good. مذكر and مؤنث. Insha, the Arabic terminology for singular, dual, and plural is? مفرد مثنى جمع. Good. طيب, the Arabic terminology for common and proper or definite indefinite is?
نكرة and معرفة. معرفة.
Good. نكرة is which one?
Common.
Common or indefinite. And معرفة would then be proper and definite. Perfect. Good. Grant, give me an example of a mufradun word in all three states. Sorry, Grant, name all three states. What are they?
مرفوع, منصوب, and مجرور.
Good. مرفوع, منصوب, and مجرور. Siraj, give me an example of a mufradun word in all three states.
كتاب, كتابا, كتابا.
Good. Ahmed, give me an example of a muthanna word in all three states. Muhammad, give me an example of a muthanna word in all three states. One more time.
Babunun.
Babunun. You ever seen one before?
I remember. You see it?
Ahmed, huh?
Baban, Babain.
Good. Babani and Babaini. Babani is in what state? DJ. Huh? Mufradun or muthanna? Marfu'un. Babani is in what state? He said mufradun, just said muthanna, just for fun. Babani, marfu'un, and Babaini is? Mansubun or majrurun. Phenomenal. Hidayah, give me another example of a muthanna word in all three states. It's Monday, it's a difficult day. It's very good. Insha. Kawkabani, Kawkabaini. Good. Kawkabani is in what? Thank you. Is in what state? And Kawkabaini is? Mansubun or majrurun. Good. Salma, we studied 4 types of plurals, jam'un, in Arabic. They are? One more time. That's not how it's written. It's jam'ul. You're afraid you have the right words, you're just saying it incorrectly. Good. You're pausing.
There's something wrong with
No and yes. You paused at the second word. You just said jam'ul mudhakkar salim. Jam'ul mudhakkar salim is what you said. No. And that's why it's important. What is it, Rama? Good. Jam'ul mudhakkari salim. Jam'ul mudhakkari السالم. جمع المذكر السالم. You know the Arabs, they say تسكن تسلم, which basically means put a sukun at the end of words and you'll be safe. No, like put a sukun at the end of words and you'll be safe. What they mean by safe is that because if you put the vowel signs at the end of words and you get it wrong, then it will become clear that you don't know Arabic grammar. I'm not talking to you. I'm just, no, but that's the idea. They're like teskun teslim, right? That's why sometimes you hear people like they're like giving khutbah or giving a talk and they're like just, you know, mashallah, flexing their Arabic, but they haven't studied Arabic before. And you're like, what did you just say? Right? Like, for example, if someone were to say they were giving iqamah and they would say, you hear this a lot. Like, for example, قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. It's incorrect. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. We'll learn why later, right? But just as an example. So جمع المذكر السالم. جمع المذكر السالم. That was the first. The second one. جمع المؤنث السالم. جمع تكسير. Good. اسم جمع. So جمع المذكر السالم سالم masculine plural. جمع المؤنث السالم سالم feminine plural. جمع تكسير broken plural. اسم جمع plural by meaning. Perfect. نون جمع المذكر السالم. Give an example of a word that's جمع المذكر السالم in all three states. دارسون دارسين. Identify which one is which. Good. دارسون مرفوع دارسين منصوب مجرور. Good. Phenomenal. مشال جمع المؤنث السالم. Final answer? A long weekend, Michelle. It's a long weekend. Muhammad Fardeen.
Yes, sir.
An example of a جمع المؤنث السالم in all three states.
قانتات قانتات.
Good. قانتات, and then he repeated قانتات. So قانتات would be مرفوع and قانتات would be منصوب and مجرور. Yes.
So daddy sooner, daddy seen, it doesn't have to be an intellectual person. Can you use daddy sooner, daddy seen?
You're talking about Selma's answer.
Those answer. She said daddy sooner, daddy seen.
Sorry. So
Doesn't-
جمع المذكر السالم is my question to you.
Yeah, but doesn't it have to be a human? If it's a non-human, then you can't use
That is talking
that.
the one who's studying. It's an intellectual. It's talking about, let's say you have students or men.
Yeah.
Daddy Suna, Daddy Sina is referring to people that are studying.
Yeah, I mixed up my vocabulary. I was thinking of house, the other word for house. What's the other word for house?
Darun.
Down.
And there's no Daruna Darina. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, so we did that. جمع تكسير. جمع تكسير. Okay. So, Amira, I'm gonna give you options, okay? Okay. Got Joseph, Rania, Sardar, and Maryam. Rania. Okay, Rania, you're up. Rania, I need an example of a جمع تكسير in all three states. If you get it right, we'll say it's my teaching. If you get it wrong, we'll blame Amira. Go ahead, Rania. جمع تكسير in all three states. Rania, if you're speaking, I can't hear you. جمع تكسير in all three states. Okay, Amira, we're down to Joseph, Sardar, and Maryam Khidr. Joseph, if you are there, then a جمع تكسير in all three states. Amira, you're currently 0 for 2. Sardar, Maryam Khidr, Muhammad Ali Ahmed, and Abdul Rahman. Huh? Abdurrahman Mardini. 0 for 3. Don't strike out. Abdurrahman. جمع تكسير in all 3 states. Okay. Huh? Muhammad Fardeen, can you try saying something?
Hello?
No, I wasn't trying to say anything.
No, I said, can you try? I was just trying to see if the audio. Okay, Abdurrahman Mardini, go ahead. جمع تكسير in all 3 states.
Wait, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I think some of them might be on dial-up. Okay, let's go. Hidayah, جمع تكسير in all 3 states. One more time. Are you trying to say fathers? Stretch the alif. Ab. Michelle, do you agree or disagree? And the right answer would be? You should have agreed. That was the right answer. Aba'un, aba'an, aba'in. Amira, what's another example?
أقوام
What was it?
أقواما.
Good. I thought it was أقوام, أقواما, أقوامٍ. Start with the long
Oh.
Noor, what's another example? أقلام, أقلاما, أقلام. طيب.
أولاد أولادا أولاد.
Risa?
رسل رسلا رسل.
Good. رسل رسلا رسل. Grant?
آلهة آلهة آلهة.
Good.
أوراقا أوراقا أوراق.
Good. Phenomenal. أوراق أوراقا أوراق. Okay. Now let's go back for a second mentally. A mufradun word, which is a singular word, will tell its state through vowel signs or letters. طيب?
Vowel signs.
Vowel signs. Good, right? An example would be?
قلما قلمون قلمن قلمين.
Good. قلم قلما قلمين. A dual word is going to tell its state through vowel signs or letters? Letters. Good. What are the 2 options? Alif nun and ya nun. Phenomenal, right? Insha al-jam'u al-mudhakkar al-salim will tell its state through vowel signs or letters? Through letters. Options are? So waw nun and ya nun. Una and ina, right? Just another way to answer that question. So DJ's question was dual, right? Right? So if you could say ending letters and you could say Annie and Aini. Clear? Annie and Aini. And then your question was sound masculine and plural, right? You could say waw nun ya nun, or you could say una and ina, right? Same difference. Hidayah. Jam'ul mu'annath salim words will tell its state through vowel signs or letters. Vowel signs, right? So atun and a. Huh? Tin. Atun and a tin. Good. And Samira, broken plurals will tell their states through vowel signs or letters. Rama, vowel signs. An example would be? Good. Awraqun, awraqan, and awraqin.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Regarding that? So what if it's broken, but it also follows the same ending as like Jam'ul Mu'annath Salim, like the word ummahatun. So it's broken, but it follows the alif and the ta.
Yeah, so there's certain words like ummahatun. It's not technically Jam'ul Mu'annath Salim, but it gets thrown in with Jam'ul Mu'annath Salim.
Right. So there's never going to be ummahatan.
No.
Right.
Yeah. And the reason it's not actually Jam'ul Mu'annath Salim because a letter got added.
Yeah.
Right? Ummun, ummahatun.
Yeah.
So it's not technically Jam'ul Mu'annath Salim, but it gets
Because of the ending.
thrown in with the Jam'ul Muannath
Because
Salim.
it's 2 letters.
Huh?
Is it because it's one of those, like you said, akhun, it's 2 letters and has a special?
Those are different.
Okay.
That was the dual. Akhun became akhawani, abun became abawani in the dual, right? Amira. What are the asma'ul ishara? How many are there? 6? What are? No. There's 12. Okay.
No.
There's not 12 either.
There's
14. It's growing in number. No, I'm just saying, what from 6 to 12 to 14? Are you counting it? You counting it right now? Are you just count it? It's 10.
I was gonna say ashara means 10.
Huh?
I was gonna say ashara means 10.
No, it's asma'ul ishara.
Oh, okay.
Ishara.
Okay.
It's 10 because right, they get repeated. So technically, okay. Now they get Amira. They get divided into 2 broad categories. What are those 2 categories? Qaribun, which is that which is close, and the other is which is far. Perfect. Noor, memorizing them? Good. طيب, what are they? The qaribun ones.
هذا هذان هؤلاء and the other one is هذه هاتان هؤلاء.
Phenomenal. Noor, what are the ba'idun ones? Insha, what are the ba'idun ones? What did you say? Sorry, say it again. No. What did you start with? Dhalika, and then you said Dhanika. That okay. Good. Let's see. Maryam Khidr. What are the asma'ul ishara for qarib?
هذا هذان هذا هذان هؤلاء هذه هاتان هؤلاء.
Good. Muhammad Fardeen, what are they for ba'id?
ذلك ذانك أولئك تلك تانك أولئك.
MashaAllah. Muhammad Mardini, what are they? All of them.
Wait, all right.
I'm waiting.
هذان هؤلاء هذه هاتان هؤلاء ذلك أولئك.
Phenomenal.
And then تلك ذلك. And then أولئك.
Good. Amira, you're going to repeat all of them, but you're going to go singular, dual, plural.
هذا هذه ذلك ذلك.
Huh? Who?
No.
هذا هذه ذلك, and then what's after ذلك, Noor?
ذلك.
Huh? تلك. هذا هذه ذلك تلك. Continue, Amira. Duals now.
هاتان
Huh?
ذلك ذلك. هؤلاء. No.
Yeah.
هؤلاء.
It's a twitch, wasn't it? Good. طيب, what are they in that same? No. Hold up. Sorry. Oh, guys, this is where we need to make sure that it's you're memorizing them based on their meaning and not. So you're gonna go the opposite of what you did. You'll go plurals, duals, singulars. Does that make sense? Go.
هؤلاء أولئك هذان هاتان ذلك ذلك هذا هذه where am I?
بعيد.
Bottom two.
Male. Yeah. Bottom two.
And it is ذلك and تلك.
Good. If you practice it like that, then it will actually get stronger, right? It's very easy to kind of just go like once you start, right? Okay, good. We're gonna play with qaribun. We're gonna play with qaribun for a second. We're gonna play with qaribun. So I'll give you a word, right? And you'll just add the proper ismul ishara before it. So hypothetically, if I say imra'atun, all you have to say is هذه imra'atun. Clear? You repeat it, but you repeat the entire phrase, right? You don't just say هذه, you say هذه imra'atun. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, we'll start off easy and then we'll get a little crazy. Insha. Insha already shaking her head. She got PTSD from my class. Insha. رجل. هذا رجل. سلمى. أولاد. هؤلاء أولاد. سراج. غرفة.
هذه هذه غرفة.
هذه غرفة. دي جي. أصنام. هؤلاء أصنام. عيسى ما رأيك؟ هذه أصنام. Why?
Because it's an inanimate plural.
Yeah, it's an inanimate plural. It's a non-intellectual, a non-human plural. So it's treated as singular feminine. So هذه أصنام. هداية. هداية. قدم. قدم. مشال. قدم. What's قدم mean? Noor, what's قدم mean? Foot. You agree with Michelle's answer? You don't? What's the proper answer? Why? Body parts in dual are considered feminine. Good. Yes. Which list? Huh?
There's like an exception to that, or
Addun, cheek. What do you mean? No, you say هذه. Yeah. Technically anything in dual is considered feminine. Okay. Grant. Grant. راجعتان.
Raji.
راجعتان. طيب.
I don't think that word makes sense.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not working out in my mind. It's not gonna happen.
2024.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. I'm like,
Mira.
read.
راجعتان. هاتان راجعتان. I simply got the word راجع, returning, right? I made it feminine, راجعة,
Oh, I'm thinking.
and then I made it dual, and I ended with راجعتان.
Yeah, Tamar to the word man.
That's a rajulun.
Oh my god.
I heard Rajul as well.
I heard the same thing. I heard transgender.
I'm definitely not gonna do that.
Yeah, I don't know why I heard Rajul.
Yeah. راجعتان هاتان راجعتان. Good. Good. أحمد لا إله إلا الله. نساء. نساء. It's offensive. It's offensive.
هذه
Oof. محمد. Siraj.
هؤلاء نساء.
He stopped. Yeah, that's right. هؤلاء نساء. هؤلاء نساء. Right? This is intellectual plural. Yes, it's a broken plural, but it's right. We're talking about human beings. Good. Let's go. DJ. قادمون. سلمى قادمون. هؤلاء قادمون. Good. رامة. أبنية. هذه أبنية, which means these are buildings. Good. إنشاء. بنون. Is that like payback for the whole Nisa'un thing? Michelle? هؤلاء بنون. بنون are sons, children, buildings. So the singular is bina'un and bunyanun, and the plural is abniyatun. As for banuna, it is the plural of ibnun, or one of the plurals of ibnun. Good. Muhammad Fardeen. كواكب.
كوكب. هؤلاء كواكب.
هؤلاء. What are كواكب?
كواكب. The stars.
And the plural of inanimate objects are treated as?
Oh, هذه كواكب.
Good. هذه كواكب. هذه كواكب. سعد. ساق. You're on mute, so technically I can't hear you. You're still on mute. You have to unmute the mic.
What was the question?
ساق.
هذه ساق.
هذه ساق. Sardar. Let's go. Sardar. ناظران.
I don't know meaning of the Nazrani, but if it's masculine, it's gonna be Hadani Nazrani.
هذان ناظران. Good. Okay, open up your books. Open up to page 24. So we were talking about properties of an ismun. How many properties are there? Of an ismun. How many properties of an ismun, guys? Four. The first one that we covered in order was al-jinsu, gender, right? And we said there are two genders, which are? Mudhakkarun mu'annathun. The next thing that we studied was al-adadu. And Noor, the three categories under adadun are? Mufradun, muthanna, jam'un, insha. Four types of jam'un quickly, again are? جمع المذكر السالم وجمع المؤنث السالم, sound masculine plural, sound feminine plural, جمع تكسير, broken plural, and اسم جمع. Then we inserted it, what we didn't take it technically in the book, al-i'rabu, which is status. The three statuses are
مرفوع منصوب مجرور.
مرفوع منصوب مجرور. In terms of the words that we've taken, either they show their states through vowel signs or letters, right? And then so we were on al-qismu, which is type, and then that is two categories, ma'rifatun or nakiratun, that which is proper or that which is common, or you could say definite or indefinite. It gave you categories. Basically it said the default is nakiratun, right? And then it said there are certain categories of words that are ma'rifatun. So number one was anything that has an alif lam. Number two was ismu alamin, specific names. Number three were pronouns. Number four were asma'ul ishara. Number five were al-asma'ul mawsula, which I said just kind of recognize them, but I won't test you on them. Technically, that chapter comes much later on. And number six is al-munada, the one being called. We did drill 12?
Yes.
Yes, right? So we're technically on drill 13, correct? Drill 13 says indicate whether the following words are nakiratun or ma'rifatun and give the reason why. Noor, number one, read the word, the type, and the reason. Yeah, because lam al-ta'rif, you could say because of the alif lam. Number two, Salma. Nakiratun, and for the reason over here, you would just say default. Okay, so Makithuna, she said nakiratun, and we're gonna go with default. Michelle, number three. Say it again, say it again. Ma'rifatun. Ma'rifatun, and you said the reason was? What's the specific name terminology called?
Ismu alamin.
Good, ismu alamin. Amira, Amira, number four. Read the word, please. Yeah, waladu, you said ma'rifatun, the reason is? Al-munada. Al-munada. It is the one, the person that is being summoned, right? The word waladun by itself is nakiratun, right? But when you say ya waladu, oh boy or child, you're calling on a specific individual. Rama, number five. Alladhi ma'rifatun, the reason being al-asma'ul mawsula, it is in that category of words, al-asma'ul mawsula. Good. Hidayah, number six. Al-mu'minina is good. Ma'rifatun, the reason being? No. Insha? Yeah, it's salam al-ta'rif, or you could just say the al. Hidayah makes sense? The al at the beginning automatically makes the word ma'rifah. DJ, the next one, 7. Yeah, al-rasulu is ma'rifatun because of the alif lam. Let's go. Let's see, I don't know who's Joseph. Joseph, if you're there, what did we just do? 7? Right. Joseph, number 8. 8. Rania, number 8. Louder, please.
اسمي علم.
Ismu, read the word.
مريم.
And then ma'rifatun or nakiratun?
معرفة.
Ma'rifatun. And you said the reason?
اسم علم.
Good. Ismu alamin. Ismu alamin. Good. Muhammad Ali Ahmed, number 9.
Sorry for loud noise. But Nakiratu.
Read the word, please. Read the word.
Musaddiqun. Nakiratu.
Uh-huh. And so for a reason over here, we said you're going to go default. So musaddiqun, he said nakiratun, musaddiqun, nakiratun, and we're going to go default. Look like
I was gonna say, I thought that was a name of something.
no, it's used as a name. It's used as a name, but in its essence, it's just a word, right? Khadija, number 10.
Number 10, Muhammadun. It's proper marifatun because like talk what was there?
Ismu alamin.
Oh, ismu alamin. Okay.
Okay, so Muhammadun is ma'rifatun. The reason being ismu alamin. It's a proper name. Good. Sardar, number 11. Read the word, please.
As-safinatu. It is ma'rifatun because alif lam.
Good. As-safinatu. As-safinatu is ma'rifatun because of the alif lam. Muhammad Fardeen, number 12.
النار معرفة لام التعريف.
Good. النار معرفة لام التعريف. Salma, number 12, put an ismul ishara before it. Like if you were to put an ismul ishara before it, what would it be? Good. هذه. Why? Why? It's because the Arab said so. Good. An-naru is feminine. If she were to put an ismul ishara before it, a pointer word, she would say hadihi. She would say hadihi. I asked her why hadihi, because the default is masculine. So why is she choosing hadihi when it doesn't have like a ta marbuta or it's not biologically feminine? She said because an-naru is one of those words that is feminine because the Arab said so. Someone had a question. No? Okay, good. Grant, number 13.
An-nisa'u, and that is ma'rifatun.
Good, because
Lamu ta'rifu.
good. Technically, if you can say it, lamu ta'rifi, technically. An-nisa'u, he said ma'rifatun, and the reason because is the alif lam or the lam ta'rif. If you were to put an ismul ishara before it, Grant, it would be?
That's one more time, please.
If you were to put an ismul ishara before it, it would be? Pointer word.
Ha'ula'i.
Phenomenal. Ha'ula'i. Siraj, 14.
14 mu'minuna, nakiratun default.
Yeah, you said default. That's what you said, right? Mu'minuna, he said nakiratun, and he said default. If you would put an ismul ishara before it, it would be?
Ha'ula'i.
Ha'ula'i. Phenomenal. Ahmed, 15. Nakiratun default. If you put an ismul ishara before it, هذا كنز. Phenomenal. Mardini, 16. الشمس معرفة because of the alif lam. If you put an ismul ishara before it, the ismul ishara would be هذه. Phenomenal. شمس feminine because the Arabs said so. Good. Next column, if I ask you about an ismul ishara, we're switching from qareeb to ba'id. We're switching from qareeb to ba'id. Is that clear? Remember what ba'id are? Far away. So it's ذَلِكَ, ذَانِكَ, أُولَئِكَ, تِلْكَ, تَانِكَ, and أُولَئِكَ. Good. 25. Maryam, Khidr.
يا آدم.
معرفة ونكرة.
نكرة.
محمد فردين. يا آدم.
معرفة اسم المنادى.
Yeah, you just say al-munada, but yeah. Ma'rifatun, the reason being al-munada. Those of you online, by the way, I need your audio to be like Muhammad Fardeen's audio. I need your audio to be like Muhammad Fardeen's audio. Loud and clear, without any ambiguity, without any doubt. So the answer is clear. I don't have any doubt. Clear. I need your audio to be like that, right? I have a tendency that if it's not clear, I just stop calling upon the person because it just kind of lags and holds back class. Let's go Samira 26. Ma'rifatun. الشجرة is ma'rifatun. The reason being Alif Lam. Good. If you were to put an ismul ishara before it, remember we're doing far away, it would be Michelle, it would be Insha, it would be Hidayah, it would be I'm gonna clean house right now. Noor, it would be Tilka. Good. Tilka, right? Tilka. Salma 27. Maradun, ma'rifatun wa nakiratun. Nakiratun, default, ismul ishara before it. Say it again. Good. ذلك مرض. ذلك مرض. أميرة. 28. هو معرفة معرفة. Sure about that? Final answer. Reason? Huh? DJ. معرفة ونكرة. نكرة. Default.
It's
المنادى. يا هو. حاجة زي كده. حاجة زي كده هنا. Grant هو.
It's
معرفة
because الضمائر.
Yes, معرفة because it's under the category of الضمائر. You said it is معرفة because it is under الضمائر. Good. Joseph, you there? All right, let's go. We're on drill 13. 29, number 29. Read the word and then tell me the type.
أرض.
أرض. معرفة or نكرة?
نكرة.
نكرة. The reason being?
تنوين. The ضمتين.
Yeah, ضمتين. Technically, ضمتين can work, so we'll say default, right? So we'll go with default, right? But default. Yes, the tanween is generally an indication, as long as it's not like a proper name like ismu alami, like Muhammadun. Generally, the tanween indicates the absence of alif lam, right? So, but we'll say default. Joseph, if we were to put an ismul ishara before it, a pointer word before it, what pointer word would be appropriate for the ones that are in the category of ba'id, far away?
Singular. هذا.
Far away, that's qareeb.
Oh, far away. Tilka.
Tilka. For qareeb, it would be هذه, and for ba'id, it would be tilka, because ardun is feminine because the Arab said so. May Allah bless them. 30, Muhammad Mardini. الناس معرفة ونكرة. معرفة because ألف لام. Siraj 31.
نكرة default.
صوت نكرة default. هداية 32. نعم فرعون. She said معرفة اسم علم. 33 سلمى. She said 33 الذين معرفة. She said under the category of الأسماء الموصولة. عيسى 34.
اليتيم معرفة لام التعريف.
34 he said اليتيم معرفة because of لام التعريف or the ألف لام. 35 طيب. Yes سعد.
Couldn't فرعون be نكرة because it can refer
Because
to any
it's a,
pharaoh?
it's a title, because it's not a name, but the way Allah uses it in the Quran, yes, technically Fir'aun is a title, it is not a proper name, but the way Allah uses it is it refers to a specific individual and it's not referring to it. But yes, you could technically, but the way Allah uses it as almost referring to a specific individual. 35. Did I call on somebody?
Yeah. It's going to be معرفة for ألف لام لام التعريف.
Yeah. So he said معرفة because of the ألف لام, or you could say لام التعريف. طيب, if you put an اسم الإشارة before it, it would be?
الذكر. It's going to be.
We're doing بعيد.
بعيد. ذلك الذكر. تلك الذكرى.
Which one?
تلك.
Why?
ذلك. ذلك. I switched back. Dhikr, it's like it's a dhikr. I don't know, like this dhikr.
Yeah,
this female dhikr. This feminine dhikr. Dhikra. What is dhikra?
Noor. Salma.
I don't know if it's plural, but that's
not plural.
Okay, then it's that. I'm gonna lock in my answer.
You lock it
ذلك.
in. Huh?
ذلك.
Alif Maqsoor. And how many letters before it? 3. Under Al-Jinsu, Mudhakkarun Mu'annathun, we said the default was Mudhakkarun, and then we took things that are feminine, right? Number 1 was biologically feminine. Number 2 was anything that ends in a ta marbuta, or words that end in an alif maqsura, the ya without the dots, or an alif with a hamza, and they have how many letters before them? 3. Dhal, kaf, ra, followed by a alif maqsura, which would mean you locked in the wrong answer.
That is right. That's correct. You are correct, and I was wrong.
So the correct answer is tilka. Good. 36 DJ. الزقوم معرفة because of the ألف لام. 37 Khadija.
37. This one is
Read the word.
Is it as-sahitun?
As-salihatu.
As-salihatu. It's marifatun because it's got the alif and lam.
As-salihatu, she said ma'rifatun because of the alif lam. Guys, did I skip 17 to 24? Yes?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, that's fine. We'll just, when we get to the next page, it is what it is. Okay. 38, Sardar.
Yes.
Louder, please. I can barely hear you.
Okay.
Sardar, it sounds like you're in Turkey right now. Like distance-wise.
Or maybe. Khati'atun.
Khati'atun,
It is it is default by
What's the answer? معرفة or نكرة?
نكرة.
نكرة. And it would be default. If
yeah.
you put an اسم الإشارة before it, سعد, for بعيد, what would it be, سعد?
Oh, بعيد.
Yes.
تلك تلك أولئك.
Huh? What would it be? طيب.
خاطئة.
Yes. تلك خاطئة. 39, Grant.
Musa, it is not because of ismu alamin.
Yeah, اسم علم. Don't stretch the line.
Ismu alamin.
There we go. معرفة اسم علم اسم الإشارة before it.
بعيد.
ها؟ بعيد.
ذلك.
ها؟
ذلك.
ذلك. Good. إنشاء 40. نكرة default اسم الإشارة for بعيد. ها؟ تلك. Okay, let's do those two columns on the last page, right? Now, mention the اسم الإشارة for قريب and the اسم الإشارة for بعيد. Mention both. Is that clear? Yes?
And then say
Okay.
the word.
Yeah. Or just say two different sentences. طيب, 17.
وجوه would be.
Do you know what وجوه means?
Sounds like a plural.
It is. It means faces. But continue. معرفة نكرة.
So it's going to be till.
No, معرفة نكرة first.
Oh, it's, نكرة.
نكرة. Why?
Default.
Default. Okay. The أسماء الإشارة there.
تلك وجوه.
تلك وجوه and so he did started with بعيد. تلك وجوه and
هذه وجوه.
هذه وجوه. Start with قريب first and then do بعيد just to kind of keep something systematic. But yes, هذه وجوه, these are faces, and تلك وجوه, those are faces. Is that clear? 18, Isa.
غلام. It is نكرة default.
نكرة default.
Is it a plural?
No.
Okay. It'll be هذا or ذلك.
Yeah, be هذا or ذلك. هذا or ذلك. Amira, 19.
It would be معرفة because of
معرفة because of ألف لام. Just jump to Michelle, 20. العشب is معرفة because of the ألف لام. Rama, 21. نكرة because of default. ملك, put اسم الإشارة before it. قريب بعيد. هذا ملك and ذلك ملك. What's ملك mean, Rama? Huh? King. What's the word for angel? Huh? That's angels. What's the word for one? Huh? ملاك. Amira? Malakun. Malakun. Two different words, very similar. King is Malikun, kasra on the lam. Angel is Malakun. Good. 22, Salma. معرفة ونكرة. معرفة and then you're trying to say لام التعريف. Good. Put أسماء الإشارة before it. Word, pointer words before it. نعم, هذه and تلك. Good. Noor, 23. She's good. هذا معرفة. And she said أسماء الإشارة. Put pointer words before it. No. Michelle, 24. Yeah, you would say ismu alamin over here, specific name, right? 41 DJ.
No.
Good. It's ma'rifatun because it's under the category of asma'ul ishara. Ahmed, 42.
It's Marifa.
Ma'rifa because of the alif lam. If you put ismul ishara before it for qareeb and ba'id, it would be
هذا النعيم
هذا النعيم and
ذلك
ذلك النعيم. Mardini, 43. Nakiratun, the reason being default, put ismul ishara before it for qareebun and ba'idun. هذا كتاب and ذلك كتاب. Is that what he said? Huh?
Yeah, I have a question.
One second.
Never mind, single.
No? Yes, Saad.
Don't some scholars consider the name Allah to be just Al-Ilah, so it wouldn't be Ismul Ishara?
Say it again.
Don't some scholars consider the name Allah to just be like Al-Ilah, so it wouldn't be? I mean, it wouldn't be Ismul Ishara, right? According to them.
It would be Ismul Ishara. Are you trying to say Ma'rifa?
No, because you said that the word Allah is Ma'rifatun because it's Ismul Ishara, right?
No, I said Ismu Alamin. Allah is not Ismul Ishara.
Oh, sorry, no, yes, Ismu Alamin, right? But I was reading somewhere that some scholars consider it to just be the word Al-Ilah.
That's in the article.
It was just
Alif Lam, saying would it be Alif Lam? Make it.
So scholars talk about the origin of the name of Allah. Like, what does it emanate from? Does it emanate from Al-Ilah, or does it have its own origin? Right? There's a long discussion about this, right? But the word Allah is Ismu Alamin because it refers to a specific being.
okay.
Okay, 44. 44. 44. Isa.
علماء is nakiratun default.
Nakiratun, default. حلماء اسم الإشارة.
هذه and تلك.
حلماء is the plural of halimun, and halimun is someone that is like gentle, soft-hearted, extremely patient.
It's a person.
It's generally describing people, yes. So it's a plural of halimun.
All right, then it'll just be هذا and ذلك.
People. It's a plural.
Oh, okay. أولئك هؤلاء and أولئك.
Yeah. هؤلاء and أولئك. هؤلاء and أولئك. Insha, the next one, 45. Nakiratun default, put asma'ul ishara before it. Manamatun means like dreams. هذه and tilka, because the non-human plurals are treated as singular feminine. Good.
Question.
Yes.
For number 44, is that feminine because of the Hamza at the end and 3 letters for it?
Good, great question. No, because this is describing people.
So that's only
So we're talking about great question. He said, is it feminine because, right, alif and followed by Hamza, and then it has the 3 letters before it. Great application, but no, because simply we're talking. This is a description of people, so it's not going to apply. Salma, 46. Good. Ya waliyu, she said it's ma'rifatun because it's munada, right? Michelle, 47. نكرة by default. Put أسماء الإشارة before it. هذا قلم and ذلك قلم. Good. 48 سميرة. معرفة because of the ألف لام. Put أسماء الإشارة before it. هذا المال. Good. And then for بعيد it would be that هذه is the feminine of هذا. هذا المال هداية. What would it be? إنشاء ذلك المال. Good. Go over the next page. Whenever we finish the chapter, I just like to go over, do the vocabulary review orally, right? For entertainment purposes. Nur, idol. Sanamun, asnamun. Good. Salma, flyer, insect. Dubabun, mishal. Sorry, I'm going the wrong way. Mouse or rat. One more time. Fatrun. What's the plural? You're saying it. Just I need you. I'm not. Fi'ranun. I need. Yeah. Fa'run, fi'ranun. We did fly insects. So, Amira, town, city, village. Qaryatun, Quran. Good. Amira, qaryatun. Put an ismul ishara before it. قريب بعيد. Good. She said هذه قرية and تلك قرية. Do the same thing for Quran. Yeah, it is. هذه قرى and تلك قرى. Same answer, right? Non-intellectual plural. Good. Rama, 5. Take off the tamr. حجر, حجارة. أسماء الإشارة before the singular. The word is حجر. هذا حجر and ذلك حجر. Plural, do the same thing. Good. She said هذه حجارة and تلك حجارة. Phenomenal. Good. Samira, house, singular and plural. Huh? That's sons or children. Hidayah, house. Insha, house. Baytun, buyutun, baytun. Put asma al-ishara before it. Good. هذا بيت or ذلك بيت. What about the plural? Do the same thing. هذه بيوت تلك بيوت. DJ, door, 7. Same thing. أسماء الإشارة before the singular and before the plural. هذا باب and ذلك باب plural. هذه أبواب and تلك أبواب. Good. Ahmed, number 8. غرفة and غرف. There is another plural as well, just so we know. غرفات. Good. Put أسماء الإشارة before the singular. هذه غرفة and لا, keep it singular. هذه غرفة and you were right, just change the second word to singular.
Second one was غرفات.
You said هذه غرفة and then you said تلك غرفات. I said keep it all singular.
So هذه غرفة.
ويوه
and تلك غرفة.
تلك غرفة. Okay, and then make it all plural now.
تلك غرفات.
تلك غرفات. Good. You skipped the قريب.
قريب. هذه غرفات.
هذه غرفات. Right, and غرفات and غرف could be switched out. Muhammad Mardini, number 9. Go ahead. قلم أقلام. Put أسماء الإشارة before the singular and the plural. Go ahead. هذا قلم and ذلك قلم. Plural. هذه قلم and تلك أقلام. Muhammad Fardeen, number 10.
Book كتاب.
And the plural is?
كتب.
كتب. كتاب كتب.
Yes.
هذا
هذا كتاب ذلك كتاب.
هذا كتاب ذلك كتاب. And the plural as well?
كتب.
Yeah.
هؤلاء كتب. Oh, sorry, no. I lost that.
كتب is the plural. Put an أسماء الإشارة before it. For قريب and then for بعيد.
هؤلاء, but that's for
non-intellectual plurals are treated as
singular feminine. هذه كتب تلك كتب.
Good. هذه كتب تلك كتب. It's 11 o'clock. Take a 5-minute break and then we will continue with the torture.
These are both.
The last one we did was 10, correct?
Yes.
Amira, 11. What's the word? One more time.
Yeah.
Stretch the ya.
Yeah.
Good. And the other singular is?
That
Good. So bunyanun and bina'un, and the plural is? Abniyatun. Put ismul isharas before one of the singulars and then do the plural.
bunyan.
What happened during the break?
Sorry. هذا بنيان and ذلك بنيان.
هذا بنيان and ذلك بنيان.
نية.
Good. هذه أبنية and تلك أبنية. طيب. Face.
وجهٌ وجوه. Is it hun or hun?
Hun with the light hat.
وجهٌ وجوه. And it's going to be هذا وجه ذلك وجه, and it's going to also be.
So you said هذا وجه and ذلك وجه.
Our faces, it's like, it could be it's going to be هذه وجوه and تلك وجوه.
Good. هذه وجوه and تلك وجوه. Joseph, 13.
يوم أيام.
Good. يوم أيام. Put pointer words before يوم for قريب and بعيد, near and far.
هذا and ذلك.
هذا and ذلك, and do the same for أيام.
هذه تلك.
هذه and تلك. Phenomenal. 14. مريم خضر.
Messenger, رسل.
Sorry, what's the singular?
رسول.
Maryam, I can't hear you.
رسول.
Rasulun. And what's the plural?
رسل.
Rusulun. Put asma'ul ishara for qaribun and ba'idun for near and far before rasulun.
هذا رسل. ذلك رسل.
The word is rasulun. Once again.
Oh. هذا رسول. ذلك رسول.
هذا رسول and ذلك رسول, and do the same for rusulun.
هؤلاء رسل. أولئك رسل.
هؤلاء رسل and أولئك رسل. Sa'ad, 15. You look confused.
I'm always looking confused.
What's it?
I was thinking because there was a time that we said tilka rusulun. I was trying to.
That was broken plurals. Broken plurals.
Could be
can be treated as.
It could have been.
Yes.
But it's not.
Sa'ad, 15.
15. Paper, leaf, ورقة, أوراق.
ورقة أوراق. أسماء الإشارة before the singular as well as before the plural.
هذه ورقة. تلك ورقة.
هذه ورقة تلك ورقة.
And for the plural أوراق, هذه أوراق. Sorry, no. Yeah, هذه أوراق and تلك أوراق.
It's going to be the same thing. هذه أوراق and تلك أوراق. 16. Michelle. أخت أخوات. Finish the words. هذه أخت. تلك أخت. Now do the plurals. أخوات. هؤلاء أخوات and أولئك أخوات. Nur, 17. تنزيل, put an اسم الإشارة for قريب before it. Good. هذا تنزيل and ذلك تنزيل. Salma, 18. هذا صدر and ذلك صدر. هذه صدور and تلك صدور. Good. Amira, 19.
هذه no.
هذا فم and ذلك فم plural. هذه أفواه تلك أفواه. Rama, 20. لسان ألسنة. Go ahead. هذا لسان and ذلك لسان. هذه ألسنة and تلك ألسنة. إنشاء, boy or child. ولد أولاد. Good. ولد أولاد. Go ahead. هذا ولد ذلك ولد. هؤلاء أولاد أولئك أولاد. هداية, 22. Girl or daughter? That's sister. And the plural is banatun. Bintun banatun. Bintun, put the asma'ul ishara before it. Say this entire thing. هذه بنت. تلك بنت. Good. The plural. Good. هؤلاء بنات and أولئك بنات. DJ, 23. ذرية, right? Muhammad Mardini, 24. I think that we did waladun awlad. They want the other one. I think son. Works, but they want the other word. Good. Ibnun and banuna. What's the other plural? There's another plural. What is it, Saraj? Abna'un. So the singular is ibnun. The two plurals are abna'un and banuna. Go ahead, ibnun. Yeah. هذا ابن and ذلك ابن. And the plurals? هؤلاء بنون and أولئك بنون. Siraj, brother.
أخ إخوان إخوة.
Good. أخ إخوان and إخوة. Go ahead.
هذا أخ ذلك أخ.
هذا أخ ذلك أخ. Plurals.
هؤلاء إخوان أولئك إخوان.
هؤلاء إخوان أولئك إخوان. Grant, father.
أب آباء ذلك or هذا أب ذلك أب هؤلاء آباء أولئك آباء.
Good. So the word was abun, plural is abaun, and then with the asma'ul ishara it ends up being hada abun and dhalika abun, and the plurals are haula'i abaun and ulaika abaun. Isa, 27.
Ummun ummahatun. Hadihi ummun. Tilka ummun. Haula'i ummahatun. Ulaika ummahatun.
Good. He said ummun, plural is ummahatun, and then with the asma'ul ishara, hadihi ummun, tilka ummun, haula'i ummahatun, and ulaika ummahatun. Muhammad Fardeen, 28. I think he's frozen. I'm frozen. Someone's frozen. Joseph, 28.
زوج أزواج.
Zawjun, azwajun. 29, just the plurals, just the words. Khadija, 29, man.
Rajulun and Rijalun.
Rajulun, rijalun, good. And Sardar, woman or wife, just the singular and plural.
Imra'atun nisa'un.
Good. Imra'atun nisa'un. Imra'atun nisa'un. Really quickly. 31 through 39. 31 through 39. Really quickly, we'll go through the words and then I want to go back and do something with these. Noor, 31. The answer is? Qadimun. 32, Salma would be? Dhahibun. Amira, 33 would be? Kharijun. 34, Mishal would be? Na'imun. 35, Samira would be? Rama, 35 would be? Darisun. Hidayah, 36 would be? One more time. Akilun. Akilun. Insha, 37 would be? Raji'un. Ahmad, 38 would be? Nadirun. Tayyib, 39 would be? Abidun. Really quickly, 31 through 39. 31 through 39. Look at 31, for example. Let's use 31 as an example. Okay. This is what I want you to think. And then I'm going to call upon a few of you. Okay. But 31. 31. The word is qadimun. Listen. Hadha. Hadha qadimun. Okay. Hadani.
Qadimani.
هذان قادمان. هؤلاء قادمون. هذه قادمة. هاتان قادمتان. هؤلاء قادمات. ذلك قادم. ذلك قادمان. أولئك قادمون. تلك قادمة. تانك قادمتان. أولئك قادمات. Good. Take the next few minutes and just practice with the different words doing that same thing. Does that make sense? Yes?
How do you translate that? Like,
this is a person that is coming. Those are two people. Or yeah. Okay. These are two people.
These words like qadimun, they're technically isms, right? But they can be treated as fa'ils, right? So like huwa qadimun, but they're technically isms. They mean one who is going, or sorry, one who is.
They are technically. Yeah, they are technically ismuns. I think you said as the second part of your question, you said they can be treated. What did you say after that?
As fa'ilun.
No, they
like
cannot be
fa'il?
treated. They cannot be treated as fa'il. They are ismun in their natures. They have fi'luns that can be derived from the same letters, but the words, the way they are structured, they are asma'un or ism.
So when you say huwa qadimun, it's not he is going, it's he is one who is going. Or sorry, he is one who is coming.
Coming. He is. Say it again.
So when I say huwa qadimun, it doesn't mean he is coming, it means
It
he
does
is
mean he is
one
coming.
who is coming.
No,
But
it
doesn't it
means
mean
he
he
is
is one
coming.
who is coming?
No, it means he is coming. All right. So technically, if I call upon you, just go through the chart, give me 12 answers, essentially. Okay? Is that clear? Make sense? And please go in order. Isa, 32. Do qareeb. Do qareeb. Don't do ba'id.
هذا قادم no sorry هذا ذاهب هذان ذاهبان هؤلاء ذاهبون.
Thus far, he said هذا ذاهب, هذان ذاهبان, and هؤلاء ذاهبون. Continue.
هذه ذاهبة هاتان ذاهبتان هؤلاء ذاهبات.
Good. He said هذه ذاهبة هاتان ذاهبتان هؤلاء ذاهبات. Nur, do the same one but do the ba'id. What? I didn't hear. I'm good. ذلك.
ذلك ذاهبان أولئك ذاهبون تلك ذاهبة
ثانيك. Good. She said ذلك ذاهب ذلك ذاهبان أولئك ذاهبون تلك ذاهبة تانك ذاهبتان and أولئك ذاهبات. Salma, do 33, the قريب part. نعم. خارجون. Good. Yeah. She said هذا خارج هذان خارجان هؤلاء خارجون هذه خارجة هاتان خارجتان هؤلاء خارجات. Grant. Do the ba'id of the same one.
ذلك خارج ذلك خارجان أولئك
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 أولئك خارجون تلك خارجات
خارجة
تلك خارجتان أولئك خارجات.
Good. أولئك خارجات. So he said ذلك خارج ذلك خارجان أولئك خارجون تلك خارجة تانك خارجتان and أولئك خارجات. Amira, 34, sleeping.
نائمان هؤلاء نائمون هذه نائمة هاتان نائمتان هؤلاء نائمات.
Good. She said هذا نائم. هذه. Come on, guys. نائمان هؤلاء. نائمون هذه. نائمة هاتان. نائمتان and هؤلاء. نائمات. TJ, do the ba'id of that same one.
ذلك نائم ذلك نائمان أولئك نائمون تلك نائمة ذلك نائمتان أولئك نائمات
نائمات. Once again, guys, he said ذلك 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 نائمان أولئك ذلك ذلك. Yes, pause.
You went back to the.
Did I do something weird?
You said that again, and you want. You don't.
Oh, I said ذلك. I meant my headset تلك. تلك نائمة تانك أولئك نائمات. Good. طيب 35.
Returning.
What?
Sorry.
35. Study.
Sorry, studying. Daddy son. So it's gonna be. هذا daddy son. هذان دارسان. هؤلاء دارسون. هذه دارسة. هاتان دارستان. هؤلاء دارسات.
Good. Insha, the ba'id of that same one. Darisani. Male still. هذان sorry. ذلك. No, you're doing ba'id, right? You're doing ba'id. Good. We'll stop here. You get the point. That's a good way to practice, right? Going through that. Tomorrow, start chapter 3. Please raise your hand if you have all of chapter 3 vocab memorized. Come on, guys. I need full participation. Guys, please memorize all of vocab for chapter 3, inshallah. Right? What's nice is the following, is that we'll kind of get to run through chapter 3, because chapter 3's focus is al-i'rab status. I've already taught that, so we're just gonna go through it really quickly. It's gonna give you a whole bunch of English, which I don't really care about, but then it's gonna kind of teach you status in by looking at words, and it's going to introduce you to Muslimani, Muslimaini, right? But we've already done that. So it'll be mainly a review, right? So we'll go through it, inshallah, fast. But once again, I need you to know the vocab. Because if we go through Amira, if we go through chapter 3 really quickly, then what happens? You get to chapter 4 and 5, and what do you think is at the beginning of chapter 4 and 5? Huh? No, more vocab. More vocab. Okay? All right, guys. See y'all tomorrow. وصلي اللهم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
وعليكم السلام. جزاك الله خير.
Yeah, my brain right now.
I have a question about the plural. When we put the ha'ula'i or the ula'ika, like for Daddy like can you do Daddy Sina and Daddy Suna?
No, not in the sentences that we've been composing.
Why?
If you notice, we've been sticking with una, and atun. We've basically made all of the words marfu'un, whether it was ani or una or atun, because grammatically it would be incorrect. And we'll learn why later when we talk about how sentences are formed and when to use the other forms, and like ina and atin and in. But right now, for the sake of these sentences, for them to be grammatically correct, whether it is a singular, a dual, or a plural word, we're using the marfu'un. So dhammas, alifs in duals, wows in sound masculine and plural, dhammas in sound feminine plural. Just for the sentences to be grammatically correct. If we used anything else, the sentences would be grammatically incorrect. But we'll learn why later. If that makes sense.
And then for dual, it's Annie and Tani, masculine, feminine.
Yes.
Annie.
Yes. Ani and Tani. So an example would be Muslimani and Muslimatani. Correct.
What's the marfu'un, majrurun, and mansubun again?
For what?
Like which one is which? I wrote them down, but I don't understand how to use it.
Overall or for the dual, you mean?
Overall.
So marfu'un, the for when it comes to singular words, the marfu'un is that which ends with a dhamma. For mansubun, it's that which ends with a fatha, and majrurun is that which ends with the kasra.
Okay. And then what about plural? I mean dual.
Dual, the alif noon indicates marfu'un, and the ya noon indicates mansubun and majrurun.
Alif noon.
Alif noon is marfu'un, and ya noon is mansubun or majrurun.
Okay. That's for dual?
Correct.
And then for plural?
So the plurals is where you have, depending on which plural, if it's the sound masculine plural, the waw noon indicates marfu'un, the ya noon indicates mansubun and majrurun.
Wait, say that again?
The waw noon indicates marfu'un,
okay.
Muslimuna marfu'un, Muslimina mansubun and majrurun. Basically, all of this will be reviewed in this next chapter coming up.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Salam.